right now.
Yeah! All right. Yes.
Buenos dias.
Roars! I don't mind you taking your time there. We've got 3 hours. Jump in when you're ready.
Buenos dias.
Hey! All right. Good to see everyone.
Kamenetsky Brothers in for Travis and Sliwa. We restarting? We just restarting the whole thing? We're gonna get this thing right? We're gonna get it right?
We can do what we want today. Come on.
Right,
We're perfectionists. We're being
Let's restart the whole
perfectionists.
damn thing. Everybody play their parts. Everybody play their parts for
ready?
real.
All right.
Here we go.
Yeah!
Buenos dias.
Roar! All right.
It's not that hard, people. It's not that hard. Everybody just has to work together as a group, put their own agendas to the side. We're a unit.
I've done 2 shows in the last couple of days, and both of them had to be started over.
Yeah, I'm aware.
I don't think through any fault of my own.
the
Last
holidays.
week is because Bergman didn't even provide a rundown, and I was unaware of the noise that I was supposed to make at the beginning of the show. It's different for everyone. Do they make a noise at the beginning of Sedano in Cap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. They sing. Got it. All right.
You've been a part of this station for years. What you're really saying is I don't listen to any of it when I'm not on the air.
Yes.
That is really what you're
That's
saying.
exactly what I'm saying.
The only time
It's because I don't want to come in with preconceived notions. I want to keep it fresh. I want to keep it real. And also, yes, I'm not listening.
Yeah, clearly not listening. All right, how was everybody's holidays? The Lakers obviously did not give the Christmas present that fans wanted, losing 126-115 to the Celtics at home. We've got questions about the new lineup that Darvin Ham is starting right now. We've got questions about the effect of Gabe Vincent, who will be reportedly undergoing surgery, out 6 to 8 weeks is the estimation, which, for those keeping score at home, takes you past the trade deadline.
Yes.
And could very well affect the different things the Lakers might be looking to do. If they're looking to be active on that front, they are still connected to Zach LaVine. There's a new guy, high-profile point guard that the Lakers are reportedly eyeing as well. We will get into that. The Rams, all of a sudden, looking like one of, if not the hottest teams in the entire NFC. Some of the perceived juggernauts faltering a little bit, looking a little bit more vulnerable. But
49ers got destroyed.
dude,
last night.
The 49ers
Destroyed.
The 49ers ruined my particular Christmas trying to get into. I'm not going to go with the deep dive of our fantasy league because nobody cares, but
But let's just take a minute here and get in my fantasy team.
All I'm going to say is if you have the Niners kicker and you need the kicker to have a big day in order to get yourselves into your Super Bowl, 4 interceptions.
4 interceptions, and then also being down to the point where they cannot possibly try to kick a field goal. Like 3 points doesn't help.
Nope.
It happens.
Ruined the whole damn thing. Did you guys have some good holidays there, Funchy and Jorge?
Yeah, I was here. I was here yesterday for the game, the big game, and I didn't hardly have a Christmas because I had to work.
All right, sounds great. Thank you, Funchy.
Well, yeah. I'm sorry to bum you
Thanks,
guys
Lakers, for ruining my holiday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you seem more bitter yesterday or Beto?
What was that?
Did you seem more bitter yesterday with your holiday being spent here?
Yeah,
with
with Beto. Yes. Because he's on like a 10, energy wise, and sometimes I'm like at a 2, especially at Christmas time, where I don't kind of want to be here, but you gotta work. I
love the way we're starting out this show, Funchy. I didn't really want to be here yesterday,
Right.
Brian. I don't listen at all unless I happen to be on air.
Should we
We're
restart?
being honest.
then,
We're being
not
honest
totally
right here.
listening.
We're being honest.
It's a day after. This is like our Festivus right now. We are doing our Festivus grievances. Jorge, how was your holiday?
It was great. It was cool. Yeah, I'm gonna bring the energy back to it.
I mean, I had a great Christmas. I'm very happy to be here. But if
Yeah.
you're asking me if I'm like a daily listener to Sedano, and now I got like kids at home. I'm working, I'm doing stuff.
Nah, it was fun. We went to Friday. We had a Christmas party at the Sunset Room with the Circle of Trust. You know, it
Nice.
was
I
fun.
saw the
We had
pictures.
How
of
was that?
What
How was
fun.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of people that flew in. I know that Emmanuel, he flew in from Napa Valley. We had other people flew in from Phoenix just to hang out with some of the people from the Circle of Trust. And then Saturday, we had Christmas Eve, whatever. And then Sunday, was it Monday? Yesterday, Monday?
Yesterday was
Yeah,
Monday.
yeah. So I came to the game yesterday. We had tickets for the game. Brought Brenda. It was fun.
Dude, the circle, the enthusiasm of that particular group, and like you want to talk about buy-in. We talk all the time about teams and buy-in. The Circle of Trust has bought in.
Darvin needs those people to go into the locker room.
Definitely.
Darvin could absolutely take a few lessons from the buy-in of the Circle of Trust. We had a great Christmas Eve over at our place. My daughter, who's 12, I introduced her to Die Hard. Die Hard takes place on Christmas Eve, making it a Christmas movie. She had never seen Die Hard before, and she loved it. But she was getting really stressed out for John McClane. Like at one point, she actually told me she was very worried he can't survive this. Like there's no way he can get out of this.
Especially with no shoes.
Someone get him some shoes,
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Oh yeah, the no shoes. He's outgunned. He has to constantly find weapons from the people that he killed or that he beats up or laying around, whatever. And I had to explain to her without giving anything away, like in terms of how things work out. I did let her know there have been 4 other diehards since this one. So it's probably going to work out for John McClane, just because she was really, really sweating this thing. It was also funny, too. She was like, why is he talking weird? She's like, he talks weird, and the way he speaks is kind of weird. And I explained to her, that's how 80s action heroes talked. Like, they talked with that voice. They had
You have to be a little growly.
Yeah.
You gotta be tough. You gotta talk really.
So I'd explain to her, you had to be there. In the 80s, this is how action heroes talked. But, Gen Zier loved herself some Die Hard.
What you think about Hans Gruber?
She loved Hans Gruber in part because she's familiar with him from the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So she knows him as Snape, but she loved him as Hans Gruber. She's also a big fan of Argyle, the limo driver.
It's just a good movie. Like, yeah, I think too. Like in this, like the taking of the weapons from the dead people is like the shooting and the upgrading. That's actually something that they really do well in the John Wick series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to kill you and now I'm going to take your stuff. Like that's how they never run out of bullets, which I appreciate because that's always one of the things in these movies. You're like, come on. But no, if you're constantly killing hordes of bad guys like John Wick does, you have access to all the good stuff like all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I explained to her because I'm eventually going to introduce her to like Speed and Passenger 57.
He means the movie.
And
Passenger 57.
Under
Oh,
Siege.
nice.
I explained to her how Die Hard created a formula where it's basically Die Hard on a bus, Die Hard on a submarine, Die Hard on a plane. Like that Die Hard became the model for all of these, and she's excited. She's excited to see some of these movies.
So, are you going to show her the other 3 diehards anytime soon?
Maybe Die Hard 3, Die Hard
Yes.
with a Vengeance.
Yes.
That one's
Yes.
actually really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Die Hard 2 in the airport is okay.
Yeah.
4 and 5 are unwatchable.
No.
They are
I think it's just best to leave it at 1. Let
One and done,
let
like
it
AD?
be.
Oh, I went there. Whatever.
It is so good, though. I mean, it really is perfect. Like, somebody actually asked me on Twitter at Cam Brothers, what's the appropriate age for your child to see Die Hard?
6.
That's what I said.
4.
Yes. 4. 6 and 4. I was like, I don't know, man. They're your kids. Like, when you deem it appropriate,
Right.
if you think your 4-year-old can watch Die Hard, if you think your kid isn't mature enough till the kid's 30, like, it's up to you.
Not the
my
boss
kid.
of you. I mean, make your own choices. I think it's one of those movies that everyone should see, and it's just inappropriate enough without being crazy inappropriate that the kids can feel like I'm probably watching something maybe a little bit that I shouldn't, but it's not going to scar them.
Yippee-ki-yay,
For example.
I had to explain to her what yippee-ki-yay means and who Roy Rogers is, because he calls himself Roy. John McClane is like his code name. Cowboy references. She had no idea what he was talking about there. She never heard the phrase yippee-ki-yay. She has heard the other one.
Yippee-ki-yay.
She's heard mother effer many times, many times, often on the way to school as I'm frustrated driving her there with all the other drivers. She's heard.
Who curses more driving, you or your wife?
Oh, me.
Yeah.
First of all, my wife never drives.
That's true.
She rarely, if ever, drives anywhere. But I'm always the one driving, so you've got me cursing, and then you've got her cursing at me because while she never drives anywhere, she's a major backseat driver. She's a big-time critic.
I hate that.
Because my wife is much more aggressive at yelling at other people and like glaring at them and like flashing, the finger and all this other stuff. Like I'm like in an era of road rage and people with concealed weapons. Like I just don't do. I'm not like yelling like that. I worry about her when she drives.
Oh, I don't give the finger. I will not do that.
No, I don't
because
do any of that.
you don't
Yeah, I don't
know
do that
who
either.
you're
But
flipping
you
off.
give him the stare, though, right?
And you honk for
Andy
a
writes
good
them sternly
30%.
worded letters.
Track down their license plate.
That's right. He
Go through
leaves,
the
leaves it on their
DMV.
leaves it on their windshield.
Absolutely. All right. Speaking of unhappy folks, that would be Lakers fans after yesterday's loss to the Celtics. It is the second look at Darvin's new starting lineup with Jared Vanderbilt in, D'Angelo Russell out, spacing out. Can this work moving forward? We'll talk about that coming up next. Kamenetsky Brothers in for Travis and Sliwa, 710 ESPN.
for your day after Christmas extravaganza.
You sure you don't want a Fresca?
No thanks.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You're out of lines, Jack.
Well, check in the kitchen, darling.
And it continues on 710 right now.
Kamenetsky Brothers in for Travis and Sliwa. And because I know he's listening right now, because he's always listening, I just want Chris Morales to know how much I appreciate every time I'm ever on. He will work in at least one Boogie Nights drop into the imaging. Thank you, Chris, because he knows that it delights me.
It makes
Delights
him very
both of
happy.
us.
And it's also a reminder that Fresca is delicious. Very underrated soda.
My wife loves Fresca.
It's great.
It's made something of a comeback over this
It has a
decade.
little bit. It's having a
Yeah,
moment.
because it was big in the 70s, and then it kind of, there was a period where I thought it was discontinued, but it is back.
Where it was going by the way of Tab.
Yeah, there was a period where if you had asked me maybe 20 years ago, does Fresca still exist? My answer would have been no. But Fresca is back
It's
now
really
with a
good.
vengeance, if nothing else, in our household.
Yeah, no, it's delicious. And you know what else is good? Squirt doesn't get enough play. Out there
tequila?
for you.
Squirt
I was
tequila?
gonna say, it's tequila.
Oh, man. You mix white tequila or blanco tequila with a little bit of squirt? Good.
I did not know that.
I could see that being
Try
good.
it.
I don't like mixed drinks. I like straight liquor. Like I don't like
Like a man. I love it.
Like a man, exactly. Like a man. Every morning,
He does. He doesn't.
Every morning.
He doesn't mix his booze with mixers. He doesn't mix his drugs with mixers. He's not in there, taking his cocaine and chopping it up with Diet Coke, or squirt.
thought you were going to go with maybe baby powder or something that might make sense.
Do you do that with baby powder? No, I'm saying, but
I mean, without going too far down the rabbit hole. and
I was
perhaps getting myself in
making
trouble.
a mixer's joke, but
that is the common.
right. To
Moving
make it
on, the
less good.
Lakers lose 126, 115.
See, Brian, when I try to fool people and think they're buying
Yes.
pure stuff, I like to cut it with baby powder and then take the proceeds to my car wash.
That is actually, you are describing what people do.
I
Right.
understand that.
Okay. 126, 115 to the Celtics. Christmas, lump of coal. Big day from Anthony Davis. If there is one positive takeaway from this 2-6 stretch that the Lakers have been on since the IST, not looking at all like a contender, is that Anthony Davis has been nails since this 40
Yeah, go ahead.
40 points last night, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, a block, 15 of 26 from the field, 2 of 4 from behind the arc, 8 of 10 from the free throw line. There are a lot of things that you can complain about or worry about as a Laker fan. Anthony Davis, there's been a change over the last few years. Anthony Davis ain't one of them.
That's what I was going to say. Like, it's very refreshing to have this stretch of poor play where we're not talking about him. Like, that's nice. That's a nice twist on things where we don't have to worry about him because there are a lot of other problems, but at least we can leave him out of it. Anthony Davis is balling. And, this is like, he's playing like MVP caliber basketball. Like, the team isn't, but so he won't win. But, like, the play he made on Tatum yesterday, that, trail block and whatever, like, that's like, that is the clip you put in his DPOY, like, highlight reel. Well, it was insane.
It wasn't just, though, that he had that block on Tatum. It's that he began the possession guarding Tatum at the top of the
key.
arc. Yeah.
Right.
Then ends up getting him at the rim. And AD is playing right now like the franchise face that the Lakers signed that extension for him to be, and that Laker fans, and frankly, the Laker franchise, have been begging for him to become.
Right.
Now they need to figure out the best way to exploit this.
Right, because the problem is he's doing all of that stuff. He's playing exactly like the player you want him to be and all those things. They're losing pretty consistently by fairly decent margins.
Right. Now one of the questions with the Lakers is this new starting lineup of AD, LeBron, Taurean Prince, Cam Reddish, and then Jared Vanderbilt in for D'Angelo Russell moving to the bench. It is an effort to really lean into becoming a better defensive team, trying to correct the issues that have been plaguing this team no matter who starts on both sides of the ball. The first quarter has been their worst by a long shot, offensively and defensively. There have been major problems. Thus far, this new lineup has not proved to be the solution.
It is not. It is a bad idea. It was a bad idea on paper before they tried it. It was a bad idea when they went out. Even the game they won over the weekend against Oklahoma City, they did not win because that starting lineup was like dominant or anything, and they got throttled yesterday. It's a bad lineup. I understand like what you're saying in terms of overcorrecting for, trying to really overcorrect for defense, really change the rhythm of what they were doing. They were playing really bad. Darvin needed to make a change. That part, up to that part's fine. But what they've done by putting Vanderbilt and Cam Reddish in the lineup together is not, they've got very little shooting and they've got very little ball handling. So if you get the ball out of LeBron's hands, you go back and watch some of those possessions yesterday. The minute the ball left LeBron's hands and now like Cam Reddish is creating or like trying to do a pick and roll or something like that, it is a disaster every time.
That's actually, to me, because, you and I talked about this on today's Locked On Lakers, available anywhere you get your podcast 5 days a week, Monday through Friday.
23 minutes.
Never behind a paywall. There is also, for the sickos who like to watch, a YouTube component as well. So you can watch us, you can listen, you can do both, all there Locked On Lakers. But one of the things we talked about was that spacing issue for the Lakers with this new lineup. The more I've thought about it, it's the lack of ball handling that actually bothers me more, because to some degree the spacing is going to be a problem with this team no matter how they reconfigure things. But putting all the ball handling essentially on one guy, that's the part that I think is truly untenable moving forward. That's the part of it that the more I think about it, the more I think really stagnates their offense in ways that are more controllable to try.
Yeah,
to
but they're also related. When you the limited ball handling that you have is made worse by the fact that you can't create space to make life easier for guys that might not be quite as good on the dribble or things like that. Everything is compressed. Like if you take away 10 inches per defender in terms of the amount that they can sag off, and at the NBA level, that's it. Like, AD talked about missing a couple, easy ones in the paint. You go back and watch the first 4 minutes of that game yesterday. Like, technically speaking, those are shots he can make, but he's like shooting through double teams over Kristaps Porzingis, like all these other things. Like the shot quality wasn't very good. LeBron's like trying to dribble under the basket to get people off of him and fadeaway jumpers. And it's like, and it's because they can't generate clean looks with this lineup, and because they turn the ball over and Boston's out running and stuff like that against a defense that isn't set, you're not really even getting the benefits of having these extra defenders on the floor. So it is a bad idea, and Darvin needs to change it quickly.
Okay. Changes need to come quickly unless they want to just give this thing time to breathe, because
suffocate it.
Well, look, in Darvin's defense, and I want to make it clear, I'm not saying that he necessarily landed on the right solution with this or that it can work. But in his defense, the defense in the first quarter has actually been a bigger problem than the offense. They've both been problematic, but the defense has actually been worse. And they have changed in some ways what they do defensively with Vando in there. They've become more of a switchy group than they had been. And in order to make that work, if it can work at all, you do need time. But if you've already concluded that this can't work, and I understand why anybody would, they have not landed on a starting lineup that has been functional enough on either side of the ball. What is the look that they should be going with? We'll talk about that next coming up. Kamenetsky Brothers in for Travis and Sliwa, 710 ESPN. Kamenetsky brothers in for Travis and Slee, 710 ESPN. Who is this laughing baby?
Who's this, Funchy? Twista. Celebrity Overnight, right? Funch?
Yes, Twista.
How did I know that and you didn't?
You knew that?
No.
Wait, what is
I don't know what a twist is.
what is Celebrity Overnight? Is that the name of the song? Okay.
Yeah, that's the name of the song. Yeah.
There you have it.
From Twista. He was
Yeah,
like the fastest rapper
He's the
back in
fastest rapper
Yeah.
too.
Is
like,
he?
like Micro Machines guy?
Yeah,
of
he's
rap?
like Micro Machine guy rapping. Yeah, basically.
All right.
Like we'll find some of his stuff.
Yeah,
later.
I want to say, I want to hear more because what I heard there wasn't particularly fast. Like I was not impressed by the speed of that. That's
Here
Well,
you
that's
go.
just the
Bap,
beat.
bap, bap, bap. Kind of quick, but I mean, I did that.
no, that was not impressive at all. Also unimpressive, the starting lineup for the Lakers over the last two games. On both ends of the floor, the defense that it was supposed to correct, putting Jared Vanderbilt in for D'Angelo Russell, has not happened. And the offense that skeptics said would crater has been happening. Anthony Davis talked after yesterday's loss about the new lineup.
Yeah, I think, with the lineup change, just trying to find ways to be effective on the offensive end. We know that teams are probably not going to try to guard Vando, so just using him in actions or like tonight they put Porzingis on him and, have him setting the ball screens and keeping him in actions. But I think overall, just trying to figure it out. Like I said, I think we were fine offensively. We have our spacing. TP's making shots, Cam, AR, when guys are in, myself, Braun. But I think we're really good in transition, and that kind of helped, kickstarts our offense. But when we're not defending, it's tough to get to our bread and butter, which is that transition, and we play off of that. So even with that lineup change, we look really good defensively. We just gotta be able to get some stops, and especially early on, starting games like that. Granted they made some shots, but we got to buckle down and let that fuel our transition.
There's a lot in there from AD taking up for what they're doing while explaining
Sort
the
of.
reasons why it doesn't work or the problems that are inherent.
I mean, he was kind enough to leave out that they're not guarding Jared Vanderbilt. They're not guarding him and Reddish, and that's really the problem. It's like you can get away because Vanderbilt moves nicely without the ball, and he'll dive down to the bucket for a back cut or something like that and make himself available. But you can't play defense or you can't play offense in the NBA now against good teams when the other team can ignore two of your guys. And whether it's Reddish or Vanderbilt or something like that, because I know we've got sound from Darvin talking about this stuff too. Like whenever the Lakers offense tilts towards those guys, the other team wins. That is a win for the other team. Even if it turns out okay, like the first bucket the Lakers made yesterday against the Celtics was kind of like an emergency late clock three from Reddish. That's fine. Boston will take that every single time down the floor.
Yeah, and look, the first one that they missed was Taurean Prince with a wide
First
open
shot of the game.
three.
That was a nice play.
It went halfway down, popped back up.
LeBron, nice cross-court pass coming in. It was that clean look for Taurean
Right,
Prince.
and-
on board with the first shot they took in the game. And the rest of them were not good.
I don't know. I think here's the problem. I understand with what you're saying. And 877-710 ESPN, by the way, if you want to weigh in on what the starting lineup should look like, what the rotations should look like, because obviously there are going to be, if you change the starting lineup, it has a trickle-down effect to the rotation. What do you want to see? Who do you want to see more of? Who do you want to see less of? Who do you not want to see at all? Jackson Hayes, I'm looking in your direction. Not even the 7 minutes a game that they're giving Jackson Hayes, I don't understand at all.
I think it was a little bit of a Porzingis thing.
A little bit, but
against
we've
Boston.
But we've seen
dust
this.
off Christian Wood. You got to play a second tall guy at least a little
See,
bit.
I disagree. I think if you're playing him 7 minutes a game, I actually don't think you're getting enough out of either one of their options. Christian Wood, if you're playing,
AD was on the floor for most of that game. I mean, the idea is because there were, the shots, the opportunities for him to just stand and shoot over Hachimura, stand and shoot over Cam Reddish, it just wasn't fair. You can't do that.
I understand, but I feel like those 7 minutes, I would rather see Reeves play more. I would rather see,
especially
Hachimura's-
in non like this is a larger global thing. In games where you're not playing Kristaps Porzingis, for example.
Right, but
do you need to play Jackson Hayes at all? The answer is no.
Right. There have been plenty of them where, again, it's not even so much about Hayes or Wood being ineffective, even though I think
It's a
they
little
have
bit about
been
that.
ineffective. I don't think those 7 minutes give them enough time to really make any type of impact. I don't think it's enough time for anybody to get into a flow. I would rather those 7-8 minutes just be extended towards the players getting actual minutes and you building more continuity and more chemistry. I'd rather go smaller in those moments. But again, 877-710 ESPN if you want to weigh in. What would you, Brian, look to do with the starting lineup?
The first thing I would try is the lineup that basically helped that they leaned on to get to the Western Conference Finals last year. Like Vanderbilt, they could not use that lineup earlier in the year because Jared Vanderbilt wasn't healthy enough to play. He seems healthy enough now. So at the very least, I would try the lineup that they were very successful with last year. Obviously, that
would be D'Lo, Austin Reeves, Vando.
Vanderbilt, AD, LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that means taking Cam Reddish, putting him on the bench. That is something that Darvin seems reluctant to do. I don't really mind. And it also means moving Taurean Prince to the bench, which is a bigger deal because Prince has actually played very well and serves a very important purpose, I think, on both sides of the ball. For that lineup, he has become easily their most reliable volume three-point shooter. And
he's basically their only volume three-point
especially if
shooter.
D'Lo's coming off the bench and playing 18 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes a game. Like if that's what, that is a bigger shift to move him to the bench. But he's also been a reserve for, 75% of his career, I think, something like that, like more or less 50%. Like that wouldn't be a huge change for him. I would try that lineup. That is the move I would have made, is to say, let's lean into something that we know, that we've used, and see what comes of that. Yeah. That's what I would have tried.
I mean, the devil's advocate argument against it, because for what it's worth, I've been curious to see more of that look as well. I think Jared Vanderbilt gives them a lot of optionality to try to paper over the defensive issues that you have and that we've seen with D'Lo and Reeves as a defensive backcourt. The devil's advocate argument against doing it is you will have to reconfigure your entire rotation, and you're doing this in game 32 moving forward. I'm not saying it's not doable. I'm saying I think the biggest argument against it is that you have to retool the entire rotation.
Darvin said something that was really interesting after, I think it was the Oklahoma City game. It might have been, or before the Boston game. I don't remember. He was talking about the lineup. He said, look, it is a big deal to change your starting lineup. He was asked about, do you need to make a lineup change? Maybe this was after the game that led to the lineup change.
It was actually.
Yeah,
You're
it was
correct.
Right.
It was after, I believe, the Minnesota loss.
Right. Where the Lakers, by the way, played pretty well without LeBron. And they won on Saturday with essentially the same formula. They played really hard, got some good shooting and stuff like that, and that's how they stuck in that other game. The difference is LeBron was available in Oklahoma City, and he wasn't available in Minnesota.
This period where the last 8 games, I believe it's 8 since the IST, where they have looked very bad, the shooting has actually been pretty good during that period. As a team, they're shooting almost 40% from behind the arc. For a team that the shooting often comes and goes, and if nothing else, it seems like they are incapable of hitting big threes. Like the moment when, I don't know if this is, I don't know how you measure this as a metric, but threes that, damn it, you
God,
really
you gotta get that one. You've got,
they're
and like
shooting
the other
10%.
team, and the other team seems to always be making that one you needed. You needed that one.
It didn't feel this way yesterday, but the Lakers actually shot better from 3 than Boston.
They did.
By a pretty considerable margin. But it felt like Boston hit every single backbreaker 3, or the 3 that really just
I'm
stopped the
inventing a
Laker
metric.
momentum.
I'm calling it the TGGI metric. That's got to go in.
Yeah.
And the Lakers, they're shooting 7%. That doesn't matter really if it goes in three-pointer. They're at 80%. But Darvin said after the Minnesota game, changing the starting lineup at the NBA level is a BFD. It is a really big deal to do that. And so you have to be really judicious about how you do it. And one of the things that bugs me about this lineup change, and I'm generally deferential. People listen to the podcast. People have heard us on the radio. People have heard us do post-game shows. I am generally deferential to coaches because they're making choices and seeing things and know who's feeling right and isn't, and they see numbers that I don't and all this stuff. And I will give them the benefit of the doubt because they do that for a living and I do this. But like if I can see these problems and other people, if you're going to do this thing that you say is a really big deal, and this is the thing that you do where you're almost certainly going to have to change it again. Even if it kind of goes well, you're probably putting yourself in a position, you've shaken up the team, guys are thinking differently, now we're going to have to change it again. Why? Why would you pick that thing to be the thing that you use to try to change the vibe? I don't get it. And if your starting lineup if it's such a good idea, why would you only want to play it 9 minutes a game? Like, they're not playing it like a normal lineup where you start the half, end the half, start the half, end the half. Like, and it occurred to me yesterday, it's like, if this is a good thing, a good starting lineup, you would want to play them more. They seem to be going out of their way to avoid it.
Yeah, I mean, the closing piece of it doesn't necessarily bother me because I can think of plenty of examples where high-end teams have not closed games.
Sure, Lamar Odom did not start,
right?
Always finished.
Exactly. Like, it was not a given last year that the Lakers were going to close games when they went on a Western Conference Finals run with their starting group as well. That piece doesn't bother me, but what you bring up, the idea of we are going to have limited use of this starting five, period, that may be where you're onto something. Talk about, obviously, more of this coming up, the impact of Gabe Vincent's impending reported surgery, what that does for the Lakers with the trade deadline approaching. Also want to get into the Rams, who happily, some happy news for LA. Might be the best.
I got some numbers about what could happen this weekend that are very exciting.
Might be the best.
Very exciting.
Might be the best looking team right now in the NFC at the moment. But coming up next, hey, did you see? Get into what Jorge has seen. 710 ESPN.
you see?
Did you see that?
I saw it. I did it.
Did you see the memo about this?
I mean, I'm excited. You can tell by my read. Hey, did you see?
Did you happen to see?
It's time for Hey, Did You See?
Hey man, did you touch my drum set?
Have you read this? Right now on Travis and Sliwa.
All right, buenos dias, everybody.
Buenos dias.
What's up, fools? All right, so this is Hey, Did You See? And over the weekend, during Christmas, there was an interesting video I came across, and it's where Shohei Otani gave Joe Kelly's wife a brand new Porsche because she started the campaign about Joe Kelly's giving up his number to the number 17 to Shohei Otani. They didn't ask for Joe Kelly never asked for money. He didn't ask for anything. What do you guys think of Otani just straight up gifting a Porsche like this to his wife without ever him getting asked for anything in return for the number?
I think a lot of people are going to try to do nice things for Shohei Otani going forward. It sets a very high bar. I would have given Joe Kelly's wife a Porsche, but I would have deferred it until after the contract was over.
So 2017 or
2038 or
Yeah.
whatever, Joe
Guaranteed.
Kelly's wife gets a Porsche.
Here's the thing, too. This is also Otani laying down the groundwork really effectively for, I will make it worth all of your while to do all of the media and be in front facing for this team that I'm never going to do. This is what you stand to gain if you help me maintain my ridiculous secrecy for the next 10 years. You, too, may have a Porsche.
Right.
Just show up one day on your street.
All you have to do is just not acknowledge that Shohei Otani is on the team. I don't know who you're talking about.
But you know what also, too? It pays to be proactive. Like the Kelly family saw an opportunity and immediately got in front of it and said, okay, you know what? You got number 17. Anything you want. Just join this team, Shohei Otani.
I mean, Evan Phillips's wife could have done the same thing.
but she wasn't number 17. Like you got
that's true.
You got to find your
No, that
way.
is true. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I'll give you number 59. This thing that you don't want. Good point.
Right.
Really not helpful.
No. But what Evan Phillips can do is find a different way to win Shohei Otani's favor.
Does Shohei Otani have a certain locker location?
Yeah.
In the clubhouse that at least you get one of those doubles like that a lot of the really big stars get, and that would mean that Gus Varland, just looking at names, random names, the Dodgers bullpen right now. Do you guys know what a Gus Varland is?
No.
I don't either. Do you think Bergman does? I'm not even sure Bergman knows what a Gus Varland is. But like that guy might have a real estate that he can just give to Otani for a Porsche.
It's obvious Otani is a generous guy. It's also obvious he's easily manipulated. So both of these things can be used in your favor as the Dodgers. He's also doing a little bit of string pulling. Like, again, I think Otani is laying down the groundwork for, I will make this very worth your while for everybody to play by my very extreme rules for the next 10 years. Everybody wins.
You get a Porsche. You get a Porsche.
I mean, Otani's got like $700 million guaranteed on top of the money he already has. He can afford to throw Porsches around.
Yeah, he can.
In this case, that actually is a perfect soundbite.
Is this the priciest number exchange ever? Probably.
It's got
to be. It's like six figures probably,
It's
right?
got to be up there.
I mean, do we know if it was if he got the clear coat? Like, did he get the
I'm sure he got the
full
top of the line
top of the
model.
line
I mean, I'm sure he
Porsche?
didn't get the bottom one.
I mean, she was surprised.
We're going to find out, too, one day that Otani has some type of Porsche deal.
But that's fine. If he did, but
he not owns a part of the company. At the
is
time.
it a full options package? Like, did he
Skipped out giving out satellite radio on it and everything.
What are you saying? This Porsche has no Wi-Fi ability?
Yeah, probably
No,
nothing.
but
CD player in it still.
what happens?
It's the base. It's the base model.
base model, yes, the
Right,
base
but,
model.
But here's a good question. When, let's say, the free subscription, the 6 months that you get
Yes.
to Sirius XM expires, does Joe Kelly go to Otani and be like, hey, man, can you re-up that subscription?
on your account.
Or
It's
are
on
you
your
on your own
account.
at that point?
Oh, man, so good. All right, so let me take you guys a little bit behind the curtain. So earlier we played a song by Twista with Celebrity Overnight, and we said he's one of the fastest rappers ever. So we had an interesting phone call. Funchy, can you elaborate on this?
Yeah, we got a call from a guy. I'm not gonna say his name, but he was trying to defend the fact that in LA they play Bone Thugs and Harmony, and we should be considering them the fastest rapper of all time. And I want to say that
All
even,
of them, or any Bone in particular?
I think Lazy Bone might be the fastest one, but
rapper.
yeah, he's
I
trying
want
to
to
say.
give Crazy more credit than he deserves.
Yeah. But I'm looking at the facts here, and Twista
Right.
is literally he did 598 syllables in
He's been
55
timed?
seconds. Yes,
He
he was
went to the
timed.
combine?
He was
Book of Records.
This is a World Guinness Book
They've
of
got his
Records.
measurables?
Yeah,
What's
they
his
do.
PER?
Yeah.
All right, so hold on. So we found the song, and we're going to play it for you guys so you guys can see how fast it is, because you guys asked, how fast does he rap?
And see if
We
you can
wanna
get
hear-
any words out of
See,
it
we
too.
can, see how many words you understand out of this.
I heard there's tongue twister in there.
There's
a like.
There's a
couple
reference
likes.
to your
Yeah.
sister. There's a blister. I gotta say, this guy combines
He's fast.
speed and the ability to understand him pretty damn well.
The rhythm's really good, but I do wonder if you try to rap that way if you're limited to only things that end in op.
No, he had a long career already. Very long career.
Like, I can believe that guy's the fastest in terms of you have to be able to actually understand what he's saying. Otherwise, the speed becomes a negative, not
yeah,
positive.
and sometimes when I listen to Bone Thugs records, I don't understand what they're saying. I
Can
just
you pull one of those up?
Yeah, definitely, we will.
We'll compare and a little later.
877-710 ESPN.
Can you rap any faster?
Jorge says Twista's faster.
No, but
Some
okay.
caller told Funches that it's Lazy Bone.
That is ridiculous.
877-710 ESPN. Am I
You're
nuts?
going to come on my end
nuts.
and tell me that Bone is faster than Twista.
Oh, man.
No,
It'd be great if he comes in and talks about that during crosstalk.
it will be.
Yeah.
It would be.
You guys are idiots. Everybody knows that Lazy Bone is faster than Twister. Am I nuts?
Am I wrong?
Conversations that John Ireland will never have for 800, Alex.
Am I wrong? Am I crazy?
I can promise you there's not much Twista or Lazy Bone being played in John Ireland's neighborhood.
No, sirree.
No, only with AirPods.
And that does it for Hey, Did You See, guys?
I like that. That was fun.
It was fun.
So
So that
listen
guy-
more often if you guys did that all the time.
That guy really got mad, Funchy.
Yeah,
Really
he did.
got mad.
He really did. Really did.
It was because it's an LA thing?
I hear
Yeah, he was
Punchy.
just trying to say, Bone Thugs and Harmony represents L.A., which they're
They
not
don't.
from L.A. They're
They're
not
from
from L.A.
Cleveland.
They're from Cleveland, exactly.
Yep. I hear Funchy over here. Dude, I'm looking at my computer right now.
I know, I'm
got
like the
Guinness World
facts.
Book of
I'm
Records
looking at
It's like
Guinness
saying
Book of
Lindsay
Records.
Baseball represents LA.
Yeah, same thing.
So
that's almost
where's
the same
Twista
thing.
from?
Twista is from Chicago.
Okay. Which is maybe is that further
Isn't
west?
that more west than Cleveland?
It's closer. Geographically, shouldn't we be claiming Twista?
Right, exactly.
If you got to claim one or the other
Right.
from L.A., you're claiming Twista.
I feel like if you're going to get really upset by something like that, given the history of rap and hip hop in LA, like you can find an actual LA rapper.
like a speed rapper
like a
from
speed
LA.
rapper.
Yeah, we
From
could.
LA.
I think we could. I think we could.
Like
Or
that's
just-
got to be a thing.
I mean, Bone Thugs and Harmony are really associated with Cleveland. Like that's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
pretty base knowledge.
The only
thing.
LA connection they have is that Eazy-E found them. That's it.
I mean, I've probably been here.
Yeah, I mean they were hanging out here.
Visited.
Yeah.
They've-
Eazy-E
they've
found them and brought them to
performed.
LA. That's it.
Yeah, that I bet you did not have any idea that someone would be calling you this morning to complain.
Not the day after Christmas, man. I thought you might want to talk about the Celtics beating the Lakers or the Rams, but no, I
But
didn't
that's
think
like
even,
saying that I went to I New York claims me because I went to a business meeting there like a couple weeks ago.
Where you guys from St. Louis, so you guys are closer to New York, right?
We're kind of tweeners.
Okay, speaking of St. Louis and New York, I remember when I was at SC my freshman year, like the moment when I realized people from California, and particularly Southern California, really don't know the U.S. beyond Southern California and like the closely surrounding regions, like basically like you go past Vegas or like Lake Havasu and they don't know the rest of the United States at all. Someone asked me, I'm introducing myself, different freshman, where are you from? St. Louis. Oh, how close is that to New York? 2,000 miles?
It's like those, you remember those old maps of the United States when like California was there and like it ended at like Missouri and the rest was just like illustrations of things they think might be there, like sea monsters and other stuff. Like that's what geography is to native LA people. Like they just don't know anything in between. It could be filled with anything. Yeah, no idea.
It was crazy. Like this person asked me in earnest, "How close are you to New York?" Like not much closer than you, bro. Like in the grand scheme of things, we're both pretty far.
I pop in there every other weekend. Just take the train into New York every week.
All right. The Rams, we'll get back to the Lakers, but let's get into some positivity. The Rams looking right now like they are as hot, as good as any team in the NFC, and their playoff odds looking better each week. We'll explain exactly what needs to happen for them to get into the playoffs. 710 ESPN.
All right, there's Bone Thugs.
So the guy called you back, Funchy?
He did.
Yeah,
That's a P1 right there.
I know.
Thank you for your listening.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony.
Cleveland, this is for you.
Yeah, it's well established. Bone Thugs and Harmony are Cleveland. Just because Easy discovered them in Cleveland doesn't mean you can claim them as L.A. Like, they're Cleveland. Like, Dr. Dre discovered Eminem. Nobody says Eminem is anything other than Detroit.
Yes.
Like,
yes,
he's not
exactly,
L.A. because
exactly.
he was discovered by Dr. Dre. Bone Thugs are clearly Cleveland.
We love you, Anthony. We love you.
Yeah, we do, man. Thanks for listening, bro.
Interesting tweet from Big E, friend of the station.
Yeah.
Eric M. Herrera.
He was at the Circle of Trust.
I was going to say
nice.
big-time member of the circle.
Big time.
Shohei, I'm just going to take his word for it. I'm not like looking this up. It's not like I got a computer and wireless connection right in front of me. I'm just going to take this guy's word for it. Shohei is a brand ambassador for Porsche. Probably didn't pay for the car given to Kelly's, but it's a tremendous publicity for Porsche and Shohei. It's a win-win-win, especially for the Kellys. Does the fact that he didn't have to pay for the car cheapen the gesture in your mind at all?
No, my question is.
Like, he's giving away somebody else's free car that he has. He's making a phone call, I guess.
Yeah, but my question is he still paying for the Sirius XM subscription? That's the actual question.
He should.
Because he didn't pay for
And
the
he
car.
should
Well, if somebody got you something like that, they like gave you this incredible gift, but they didn't actually. It wasn't like this wasn't something they bought for you. We just went through Christmas. Like, does that it's essentially like we're asking if Mason gave you all like the free stuff he gets from the random people he endorses, or somebody you give cool station swag to people, but you didn't actually pay for it or buy it. Does that matter?
No.
Nah.
In my mind, it doesn't matter because the Kellys are really excited about having this new Porsche. And they got it without having to give up any money of their own. And Joe Kelly gets the win of having Shohei Otani on his team. Like, as far as I'm concerned, they got nothing to complain about.
I agree the Kellys don't care. I'm just wondering if in your mind, like there's sort of the general Galaxy mind out there, if people are like, yeah, it changes the gesture a little bit because Shohei didn't drop the $100K himself for the car.
No, I don't think it should take away from any of this. If anything, if I'm a Dodger now, if I'm one of his teammates, I'm just excited at the prospect of how easily Shohei Otani can get.
I'm excited at how many people he has endorsement deals with. Like, that's what I'm doing is I'm starting to go through the list and being like, how can I where else is he a brand ambassador? But they do you bill Shohei not just for the Sirius subscription, but that presumably Mrs. Kelly's insurance rates might go up. Like, do you bill him for the balance? It's like $150 more expensive.
At some point, these are grown adults. Like, they do have to take some ownership of the car, what is now their Porsche. Like, Shohei Otani is not there to babysit them during the next 10 years of driving.
Does Shohei have to pay for a AAA?
Right.
Like the AAA membership today.
Shohei, it was really, I just want you to know, like, our free scheduled maintenance period has ended, and I got to take it to the shop. How do you want to Venmo me for that?
No, do I take it to the dealership, or do I take it to someone else?
If Joe Kelly totals this Porsche, it's not up to Otani to fix whatever comes by.
Are you more of a Venmo or a Zelle guy? How do you want me to get you to send me the money?
PayPal.
Maybe he still does PayPal. I don't know.
At that point, the story then shifts from Joe Kelly was doing the Dodgers a solid, he and his wife, by their way of recruiting Otani, to Joe Kelly is kind of a manipulative bleep.
No, again, I for the record, it doesn't cheapen it to me that Shohei didn't pay for the Porsche. I wouldn't presume that he sort of has to, particularly when you can make a phone call and probably have somebody deliver somebody a Porsche. And Eric is exactly right. The publicity for Porsche in this thing is tremendous. It's like when you guys, I'm drinking out of a Stanley right now. There was that video where the woman's car burnt like to a crisp. The whole car burned, and except for her Stanley, and the ice was still cold inside the Stanley. And the Stanley folks, and this thing got millions and millions and millions of hits across social media. They bought her a new car.
It would have been good if they just gave her a new Stanley.
She didn't need one. That was the whole point. And the ice was still cold. And I believed it too because like this thing keeps ice cold
Yeah, it does.
for
It
weeks.
really does. It really does.
But anyway, like that's worth it for Porsche or whatever. Some people get hung up on how you give the gift. Like, did you give somebody something that you got for free? Bothers people sometimes.
Or do you re-gift the gift that you got? Like if you get a
What
bottle
if Joe
of wine?
Kelly's wife regifted the Porsche?
Yeah, hey, I got a Porsche. I already had one. But
Gave
you
it
can
to her
have
parents?
Yeah.
I think you can give it to your parents and get away with it. Like if you give it to immediate family, especially your parents who, you always feel that urge and responsibility to repay your parents for everything that they've done for you.
877-710-ESPN. How far outside the immediate family can Joe Kelly's wife regift the Porsche before it becomes problematic?
It is immediate family only.
No cousins. First cousins.
No.
Nope. Absolutely not.
nephews.
Aunts, uncles.
I don't even think you can give it to a sibling. I think it's only your parents.
Well, I disagree with that because if you're Joe Kelly and you've made professional athlete money for a long time, and I don't know, I was going to say I don't
I'll
know.
look it up. You tell me while you talk. I'll tell you how much money Joe Kelly's made over his career.
I feel like Joe Kelly or Joe Kelly's wife, because she's part of the lifestyle that comes with being married to a professional athlete beyond whatever income she may or may not bring in. I have no idea. But they're living a 1%er lifestyle. If you are looking to pay that forward, I think to parents, siblings, I suppose if you had like an uncle or an aunt that raised you or like a grandparent that like raised you.
It better be somebody, but you better call them mama.
Right. Yeah.
or dad.
Yeah, it is that.
It can't be like, that's like my aunt, whatever. But like she's not really my aunt, but she raised me from like when she found me under a bridge, after my parents had abandoned me. How much money do you think Joe Kelly's made over the course of his career?
I'm gonna guess $38 million.
65.
Ooh, I'll say 45.
The answer is $53 million.
Okay. So that is 1%er lifestyle. He's going to have a career moving forward.
Oh yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with.
I think Joe Kelly then has to like take the Porsche, give it, and then like give the car that Mrs. Kelly was driving to a brother, a niece, a nephew, or something. I don't think you can take the Porsche itself and give it to anybody other than a parent.
Fair enough. That's fine. Again, I think this all gets limited to immediate family anyway. Otherwise,
Eric's got it. If the check engine light comes on, does Joe Kelly hit up Shohei?
no, at some point, these are grown-ass adults.
I love this. I love this idea of every time there's even the smallest thing with this Porsche that Joe Kelly goes.
The tire pressure's slow. Can you come in and inflate it?
Fill it up. Like I am so in love with this concept of him just doing this.
Because I don't think that's Otani's responsibility as either a teammate or a brand ambassador. Like you're not expecting the brand ambassador to show up every time your car needs help.
Look, do you want to be a good ambassador or don't you?
No. The Kellys are grown-ass people. They got a Porsche that I have no problem with them receiving.
Nope.
I have no problem with them, again, giving it to their mother, their
father, that's it.
The brother or sister that is in a less fortunate position.
Only if it's my big brother who raised me after my parents were killed in an accident. Like, it's got to be that. Or, like, you cannot regift that
But
car.
it can't be uncles. It can't be aunts.
No.
It can't be cousins. It can't be close friends. It can't be your bruh. It can't be anything like that. It's and I mean tight, immediate family.
Right.
That's as far as you can go before you're just the Kellys being opportunistic.
What if they sold it?
For sale with a sign.
Immediately, there's a Porsche that fits the exact description on eBay or whatever. Like eBay Motors the next day.
Oh, man. I'm going crazy looking for this tweet about this guy who said that a Paloma is better with Fresca than Squirt. So, go figure. Anthony, call us if you have a different opinion about Fresca and Squirt.
Well, he has very strong opinions about where the Paloma was invented.
Exactly. It wasn't in L.A., that's for sure.
It's definitely not in L.A. All right, coming up, the Rams. We've got an idea of their likelihood of making the playoffs. Talk about that. 710 ESPN. Kamenetsky Brothers in for Travis and Slee, 710 ESPN. Before we get to the Rams, one final note, but a little interesting factoid with the Joe Kelly, Shohei Otani giving him the number, getting the Porsche, giving up 17. He will now be wearing number 99, it's reported, Joe Kelly. He'll be just the third 99 in Dodger history. The other two, Manny was number
Manny's one, yeah.
and Hyunjin Ryu. So some pretty good number 99s in Dodger history, however few of them there are.
Mm-hmm.
So Aaron Donald, number 199. Joe Kelly, number 299. Rams right now, Brian, according to ESPN's Football Power Index, 75.3% chance of making the playoffs on the strength of their Thursday win over the Saints and some of the other stuff happening around the NFC. They were 3-6 not that long ago.
They were. This is, it's funny because, like, at the beginning of the season, everybody's kind of played this thing out. Other than once we all discovered that, like, okay, realistically speaking, this team, after that, it was the first game of the year, the Seattle game, it was like, okay, they're probably too good to be terrible enough to get the quarter, to be the number one pick, number two, number three, whatever.
For the Caleb Williams sweeps.
Caleb Williams, Penix, whoever it is, like any of these guys, the kid from North Carolina that everybody liked at the beginning of the year, all that stuff. It became kind of clear then it was like, well, they're not that great. But the schedule was really hard in the middle. And then we're like, well, if they can get through that part and still stay afloat, it gets really easy for a little while. And that's exactly where we are now. And now, at least according to this thing that I'm looking at from the New York Times that does like probabilities with every game that you can figure out, if just winning this weekend gives them an 88% chance of making the playoffs. If they beat the Giants in New York, the Giants, Brian Daboll says that he's not sure if Tommy DeVito, the Cutlet guy, is going to be starting this weekend. It might be Tyrod Taylor, who, great backup. But, like, I think at this point we're past, like, I don't know, Tyrod Taylor could really break out. And, like, no, he's Tyrod Taylor. Like, you've done all this work. The Giants suck. You can go in, you got an 80% chance of winning. And if they win and the Steelers beat Seattle in Seattle this weekend, Rams are in the playoffs.
And the Steelers, by the way, for those unaware, still
they're playing.
They're playing for something. They're 8-7. They are trying to get themselves into the playoffs. They had a big win over the weekend.
Okay, let's go. And I realize the Rams blew that game against the Steelers, and they did. That was shameful. Like, think about Cincinnati game, Pittsburgh game. Flip either one of those things. They're already in the playoffs at that point, basically. But the Steelers,
or if they manage to not have a 76-yard punt return in overtime against the Ravens,
that was pretty bad. But I would say, but I don't. You're
I'm
on
just
the
saying
road.
That
was very winnable. It wasn't
game.
winnable. Anytime you go into overtime, definitionally your game is
as
winnable.
Good as Baltimore is. I'm not saying there's any shame to losing to Baltimore.
But the Pittsburgh game, they were up and blew that game.
Yes.
The Cincinnati game, I believe they were up and blew the game and had opportunities to do that. And with Joe Burrow was banged up and all that stuff. Like, you win either one of those were really bad losses. The Baltimore one would have been kind of stealing one back.
Sure.
But if you've seen the Steelers play, compare 8-7 teams. The Rams are way better than the Steelers.
Okay, taking that step further, you look around the rest of the NFC without getting too prisoner of the moment, but
nope, that's where I am.
The Niners looked absolutely awful last night against the Ravens, the same team that we just said. The Rams took it to them in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles have looked really shaky lately. They win yesterday against the Giants, but as we've already established, the Giants suck.
Yes, they do.
The Lions, they win, but against a Minnesota team that is struggling, to say the least, with landing on a quarterback. Dallas looked bad against the Dolphins, and the Dolphins are a team, by the way, that a lot of people question how real they are to begin with. You can make an argument that the Rams look as good right now as any team in the NFC, that they are playing as well right now as any team in the NFC.
Here's the thing about it.
Not saying they're the best team, but they are playing as well as anyone in the NFC.
It's one of these deals where, like, do I think that the Rams can, as a wild card, go to the Super Bowl, knowing that all 3 of those games they got to win to get there will be on the road? The answer is no. I do not think they could do that. Do I think that in any individual game right now against any team, including Dallas, where that was they got boat raced in that game, do I think they could compete and win against any team in the NFC right now? Yes, I do. I would, a game in Philly, I would obviously put my money on the Eagles. A game in Dallas, I would put my money on the Cowboys. I'd probably do the same for a game in Detroit. But like
Game in San Francisco.
Oh, for sure. Which we get to do in a couple weeks, by the way, if you really want to. You don't even have to wait for the playoffs for that.
That, by the way, the Niners losing last night to the Ravens, that doesn't do the Rams any favors if you are hoping for the opportunity that game could mean nothing to the Niners, and if there's still any questions at all for the Rams about getting into the playoffs.
Right, you wanted San Francisco to win that game.
Yeah, you wanted San Fran by the final game of the season to have everything locked up and no mobility in either direction. Therefore, they just sit all their guys.
Right.
And
Green Bay sneaking out that win against Carolina yesterday, that would have been really helpful for the Rams, like just kind of laying the groundwork here. But, I am that offense with a healthy Stafford and an offensive line that seems to be working and a real run game, because the big, huge differentiating factor when the Rams were going to Super Bowls was Todd Gurley. And now they've got that running game back. They've got a quarterback. Like Matt Stafford I realize he makes a couple goofy throws, and that's what really confident quarterbacks do. They put the ball in places every once in a while where you probably shouldn't.
That's what Nick Mullins does.
At least Stafford has earned it. Except the difference is Stafford's doing it on purpose. I'm not sure Nick Mullins
Oh, no, I think
is.
Nick Mullins actually is.
In that case, Godspeed, Nick Mullins.
No, he is. When you watch him, because I did watch that Minnesota game, and also when you hear people talk about Nick Mullins and some of the reason that he's been a journeyman quarterback, it's judgment.
Unearned confidence.
Unearned confidence, believes he can put that ball in a place where it has no business being.
Yeah, okay. So, all right, fine, Nick Mullins. But, they've gotten, Puka has been incredible, and Cooper Kupp is slowly kind of rounding into form, and they don't need him to be the Cooper Kupp of 3 or 4 years ago because Puka is so good. And, they've got Robinson and Atwell's getting healthy again. That's a legitimate, and the defense is pretty good. They're not Baltimore yesterday against San Francisco, but they're pretty good. I'm excited about this. Also, too, they've got all this cap space in the offseason. These young
players. And they drafted so well heading into this year.
People talk about
incredibly
tanking.
well.
People talk about tanking. They would have been better off tanking. Why try to get the 7th, 8th, no whatever pick? Look at your roster. You've got a young group of players that are playing essentially playoff games.
The roster.
Yes, the roster. You got a bunch of young players who are essentially playing playoff games and gaining experience that the franchise really didn't think they were going to be able to get. And then you can add to that this offseason with a full draft and with free agency and all that stuff. And we thought this could be a 5-year rebuilding project with the Rams, 2, 3, 4 seasons to kind of build it back up again.
To peak form.
Right. And the answer was, well, okay, last year sucked. And apparently they've already rebuilt, and the franchise suddenly looks like it's in fantastic position.
Well, it's really interesting because heading into the year, we talked about it, a lot of people thought that this was going to be a sneaky tanking season where you don't admit what's actually happening, but you won't speak about it.
You're snanking.
Right. You won't talk about it transparently, but everybody knows you're actually tanking.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in part because they were not adding anybody of note to the team and letting a lot of people of note walk. And what you kept hearing from the organization was, we have to get our books in order. We have to, reset the cap, all that sort of stuff that all teams have to do, particularly teams that have spent a few seasons going all in. The bill comes due at some point, not because you did anything wrong, but that's just the way this stuff works. Our bill is due now. But they also kept insisting, we think we can be competitive.
Right.
And it felt in the moment, in the beginning, like they were just giving us the spin that they have to say because they can't admit we're trying to lose and get people to pay to show up to the stadium. They may have been just been telling the truth
right. I think,
from the outset.
I think it's how do you define competitive? Because I think what they were saying is like 6, 7, 8 wins. Like that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wins. Like that's competitive. You get to 9, you're in the playoffs. But like 6 or 7, 7 or 8 wins, you're probably not in the playoffs.
We're not a walkover team even if we don't make the playoffs.
If you've won 7 games, you are competitive. Like you probably had a couple you could have won or whatever. The real clue that you knew that they really didn't think they were going to be like something that they had to invest in was that backup quarterback, kicker, punter. Like you and I almost kicked for this team at the beginning of the year. Like they made no effort to find backup quarterback. Those are things that you do when you think you're good.
Yeah, I mean that they didn't seem particularly alarmed that Stetson Bennett. I don't know what's going on with him. I hope his family, everything's okay. But that they haven't seemed particularly alarmed at the idea that he's been away from the team.
Well, they didn't at the time, and then they went out and signed Carson Wentz when they realized what Brett Rippon looked like.
Right, but in the moment, if you have larger aspirations,
right.
Again, without being insensitive to what was going on with Bennett, that is something that would concern
the
you.
alarm bells go off when your quarterback is injury prone, whatever. But the other thing about the future that I think is, if you can if you can keep your offensive line like solid, and the Rams have done that. Like they've fixed the line,
including Avila, who's been terrific.
They've fixed that problem, which was a terrible issue last year, and they can continue to bolster it over the course of the season or the off season. You know, Stafford is 35 years old. He can be 36 in February, but in the NFL, like we've seen it with Brady, with Rodgers, with all these other guys. If you can keep your upper, it's not like he's running around the field or anything like that. If you can keep Stafford from getting hit 30 times a game, you can play 2 or 3, legitimately expect 2 or 3 or 4 more good seasons out of him. You don't need, I mean, they should be looking for a guy that they can build into that position. But you don't need to find another quarterback for next year or the year after. You can, if you can protect Stafford, you can bank, I think, on 2 more good seasons out of him.
Yeah, I mean, it is not the season that I think Rams fans expected. It's certainly not the season that I expected.
No, it isn't. And in
some
ways, it's as fun as any season that they've had in LA.
Yeah, and I mean, taking it all the way back.
Except for the Jeff Fisher year. Those were really fun.
Taking it back all the way to this offseason. A lot of reporting that Sean McVay wasn't even sure that he wanted to return. So I imagine this has been a lot of fun for him. Coming up next, play a little Fact or Cap. Kamenetsky Brothers in for Travis and Slee, 710 ESPN.
First of all, it's not a cap. It's
No, it
just
is a cap.
Welcome to Factor Cap.
Hey guys. Does Emily
What's
sound
up,
like
Punch? Yeah, what's up, Punch?
All right. As you guys know, you guys are basketball savants. The Pistons are one loss away from losing the most consecutive games in NBA history. They lost their last 26 games. They play tonight. They could break the record tonight against. I think they're playing
Nets.
The Nets, yes. And currently they are, they're underdogs by 6 points. And Factor Cap, you want to see the Pistons keep on losing until at least the new year. Factor Cap, Andy.
I hate to say it, but it's fact. And I feel terrible because there are people involved with this. And this is awful for them. It's awful for their psyche. It may be awful for their development. But
It's really good. It's good for us.
Yeah, it is, really.
As an outsider just looking in, it is really fascinating to watch what's going on with this team right now because you can tell I don't think they thought that they would be contending for like the number 1 seed overall in the East, but they did not think they would be this bad. And oh, by the way, they're on a 26-game losing streak, and they just paid Monty Williams like $70 bajillion to coach
$78.5 million.
Yeah.
What is that over 6 years? That is like 12
12
or
a year.
13 million a year. He's
Is it
currently. Does he get a Porsche? He's currently averaging $6 million a win.
Yeah.
For the season.
Like, it is fascinating
Pricey
to
wins.
watch this. I feel for the people involved. It's crazy to watch.
I at least want to see him get this.
They're ever going to win another game.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they have a shot. I was looking at their schedule. I believe they're playing San Antonio on
The 10th. I believe
the 10th.
it's the 10th.
Yes, January
of
10th. Yes, I think
really
that's their
wish
next
that
winnable
game
game.
was, like,
You know what? The
April.
last game of the season for San Antonio and Detroit is against each other.
Wow.
when both of those teams were on those really bad streaks, I really wanted their next game against each other to be in like March or
Yes,
April.
especially because the reason that didn't happen is because San Antonio beat the Lakers.
Right. And so it's just I wanted that to so like both teams show up having lost 59 games in a row.
Oh, they got this. They got the Spurs on the January 10th. If they don't win there, I think they could probably beat the Wizards 5 nights later. In
The
January
Wizards
15th.
are not a serious team.
They're not a serious team. No.
They are an
But see, but
unserious team.
here's the thing. It's like two things happen when you're playing it like a normal bad team. You overlook them, you like when the Lakers were really bad, that stretch, they would always win those like Sunday games when teams would overnight in LA
And they
because
hit like
were out
23s in a
partying.
game or something, right?
They were out partying and doing whatever, and they just didn't take the Lakers seriously. The problem now is like if you lose to the Pistons, like that is a thing. Like you are the team that just lost to a team that lost 37 games in a row. So you don't take the Wizards serious. So you overlook that game. But teams are going to be dialed in now to make sure they are not the team that loses to Detroit. So as unserious as the Wizards are, and they are very unserious, they will be serious that game.
It is so irritating to look at the standings right now. Last 10, Spurs 1-9. You know what the 1 is? That is so irritating.
I just want that to cycle out. I just need like a few more games to go by.
You need to get to February, man.
It's really irritating.
And they almost won the other one.
Yeah, they did. That's right. They almost won it. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We had 3 NFL games yesterday, in addition to the 5 NBA games. That we saw. Whatever. Factor Cap, you would love to see a tradition of NFL games on Christmas, no matter what day of the week it falls on. Brian.
Cap, because like Wednesday becomes really awkward. Tuesday it starts to get because like there's already a little bit of like a competitive issue with NFL games and when they're located and all that kind of stuff. And especially late in the season when these games are super meaningful, to start messing with the competitive balance of the league by having games at times when they are not supposed to happen. It's after bye weeks. You can't make it up. But what I think you can do is any year where there is a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you all, 4 games. I don't, tons of Christmas. And then you can probably get away with it on Thursday as well. You may be able to add an extra one.
Andy.
I know the NBA's answer is cap. They can't be thrilled about when something like this happens because that is the holiday they are supposed to own. To a lot of people, that's when the NBA season truly begins. You're not wild about the idea of 3 NFL games getting mixed into
Adam
your
Silver
space.
is very pleased that Christmas next year will be on a Tuesday.
Yeah, very pleased. I did like watching NFL games yesterday. It was a pleasant surprise, I should say. I mean,
but your Christmas was awful. We already established.
I know, but
this.
I mean,
You were
I
unhappy.
saw some NFL and I won my fantasy matchup. I guess that's why it was a good day, for the NFL yesterday. As long as Funches won.
Everything's coming up Funchy.
That's right. All right, guys. I'm trying to open up this email right here. So
take your time.
Okay, there you go. All right. I got a troubling stat right here. You know about the Phoenix Suns, their big three: Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal. They've only played 24 minutes with each other. That's only 2% of the minutes that they have overall with each other in games. 2%. The big three from Brooklyn, the Durant, Kyrie, and Harden, they played overall 365 minutes with each other, which adds up to 4%. So the big three in Phoenix actually played less than the big three in Brooklyn right now. Is this a bigger disaster than the Brooklyn, Phoenix? Factor cap, Andy.
Well, to some degree, it's TBD.
Yeah.
Which, depending on how you look at it, makes it worse because they've got a long time together. It's not like Phoenix shot the works and said, okay, we are going to go all in this year, make this thing happen, and if it doesn't happen, we can go in a bunch of different directions. This is the discernible direction of the Suns for the next several years. So far, it is off to a disastrous beginning, and you don't count on Kevin Durant getting healthier as he gets older. You definitely don't count on Bradley Beal getting healthier as they get older. And those three, the big three, their contracts together will keep this team inflexible in terms of the moves that they can make. You want to be striking as early as possible in this process of their big three. It ain't happened at all.
It hasn't looked good. And there's no rescue plan. Like Harden was still kind of, you could recover some assets for him, and then the Nets recovered reasonably well. And then they moved Durant. It's like there is.
I believe Phoenix has no assets, no draft picks or nothing.
And it's like you can't keep flipping Durant for a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Nets have a fair amount of stuff to go and a reasonably competent team. Excuse me, with Bridges and Cam Thomas and Johnson and all that kind of stuff. Like they've got some guys, but like you're not going to turn Bradley Beal into a bunch of draft picks at this point. Like
ask the Wizards how that goes.
Right. The only one that you could trade there is Devin Booker to get like a really big return.
But you're not trading him.
Probably not. That's not how I'd do it.
I mean, he's really good.
Really good.
Devin
really good.
Booker is, although
averaging 8 assists two this year. 8 assists.
He also has injury concerns of his own.
They're not in the playoffs. They're not even playing right now.
No.
If the season ended today, the Phoenix Suns would miss.
And also a little tidbit
playoffs.
too. Woj was reporting yesterday on the NBA Countdown that Durant is a little frustrated with everything over there.
I mean, that part I get. Like, I mean, it would be weird.
No,
if
I
he
don't
wasn't.
get it because what were you expecting when you completely
They're
gut
under 500.
yourselves?
I mean, I'm sure they're frustrated. LeBron is probably frustrated. Everybody's frustrated when your team's not performing the way it wants. But like, is he doing anything about it, like in a positive way?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean by the what do you expect? Like to some degree, you had to anticipate this as a possibility.
Yes.
What are you doing as one of the theoretical leaders of this team to be proactive about it? Like try to get everybody
That's
on
fair.
the right page.
Yeah, that's
because
fair.
it's not the first go around of this type with Kevin Durant.
No. He's just whiny.
He's going to ask for another trade probably.
To where?
China.
I mean, look, as great as Kevin Durant still is as a player, I don't know at this point how many teams line up to bring him in. Because there's a pattern that is forming of if you don't win right away, he falls out of love pretty quick.
And there's not like a team that's close, where they have assets where they can be like,
Right,
hey,
close enough to where you can not. We're trading for Kevin Durant puts you over the top, but the stuff that you give up doesn't hurt you.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, got one more. I spent Christmas going to my in-laws in San Marcos. My mother also came with us too, me and my wife. Oh. And we were driving in a car for a while, like an hour or so. And I had a 70 station on from Sirius XM. And it freaked the hell out of my mom with the voice that came out this 70 station. It was Casey Kasem. I guess it was a tape him doing his countdown from like years ago. And my mom was freaking out like, oh my God, isn't he dead? Isn't he dead? And started looking it up like, yeah, he's been dead for 10 years. And yeah, Sirius
Fact.
Fact. And it's eerie still hearing his voice doing the ins and outs for the countdown on the 70 station. It's just weird. So fact or cap, when you guys go, will the Locked On Lakers podcast have an AI element with your two voices going, talking about the Lakers in like, the year 2090 or something?
Yes, fact.
I love it. Love it.
100%.
Yeah, our Lakers analysis, whether done by us or AI generated, will continue
it's evergreen.
long after our death.
Thank you.
We're just although it'll be stuck in a loop where we're still discussing like the implications of Gabe Vincent's injury in like 2030.
We're just going to talk in really the last few years, if we can kind of see like health declining or something. We'll just speak in really general terms.
You know how you guys promote your podcast, and we ask you guys for a YouTube component. From moving forward, is there an AI component to this?
There is an AI.
We're just going to let ChatGPT do the show.
I'm sure that will happen after a while. Yeah.
I'm actually going to ask ChatGPT if Darvin should start Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt together and see what it says.
Okay, do that.
Okay.
Coming up next, we will let you know what ChatGPT thinks about the new Lakers starting lineup, and also Gabe Vincent reportedly having surgery, out 6 to 8 weeks in recovery, estimated, might be the minimum. What does that do for the Lakers coming up to the trade deadline and any plans that they might have had? Talk about all that coming up next, 710 ESPN.
That's not an MP. That's a YP. Your problem.
I don't know this industry jargon, YP, MP, whatever, okay?
And it continues on 710 right now.
Kamenetsky Brothers in for Travis and Slee, 710 ESPN.
Does Cleveland get to claim these guys?
I don't know, Anthony. What do you think? Call us up.
I'm sure he's been. Layover or something.
I am pretty sure California gets both Dre and Pac. Pretty sure that's how it works.
They've been to
I mean, you
Cleveland.
can maybe on the East Coast, if you want to get technical about this claim, Tupac, like going further back.
Yeah, he was in New York for a little bit.
Yeah, I think maybe Baltimore as well. Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to say he might have been born there too.
Yeah, so can't have him in Cleveland though.
No.
He has no business being claimed as part
No.
of Cleveland. All right, so you attempted to get the answers for Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt.
No,
through
and
GPT.
ChatGPT told me it does not have up-to-date sports data after 2022, which makes me wonder if Darvin also doesn't have updated data from since 2022, because that would explain the choice to put Vanderbilt and Cam Reddish together in the starting line.
Thus far, the two-game sample size of the LeBron, AD, Taurean Prince, Cam Reddish, Jared Vanderbilt starting lineup not paying dividends on either side of the ball. Got a couple days before Thursday's game against Charlotte at home to see whether or not that is still the lineup moving forward. In the meantime, though, reportedly, per Shams Charania of The Athletic and Stadium, Gabe Vincent will be having surgery on his left knee, the one that is limited to just 5 games this season, out. Shams didn't say
6 to 8 weeks is what I've seen reported, but that's like 6 to 8 weeks maybe before you check in on him. I don't know. I mean, he's not gonna be gone for a while.
Right, exactly. I mean, people should just understand 6 to 8 weeks is not a guarantee of arrival. And whenever Gabe Vincent is going to be back, it is going to be post-trade deadline. Or
yes, February is it 50? Is it the 15th?
Looking it up right now. Trade deadline NBA February 8th.
Okay.
So after the trade deadline, you might have Gabe Vincent back. So beyond the implications,
if it's 6 weeks, maybe that's right. 6
you will
weeks
not
is
have
basically
Gabe Vincent.
February.
Here's what we know for sure. You're not going to have Gabe Vincent back in enough time to see what Gabe Vincent looks like with this team in a way that would dictate the moves that you make at the deadline.
That is 100% true.
So beyond what Gabe Vincent's absence does to the Lakers right now in terms of one fewer ball handler, the defensive point of attack defense that they were counting on from him, the overall basketball IQ, the shooting they hoped for that we saw during his playoff run with the Heat last year, this affects them, the moves they can make at the deadline. Not that Vincent can't be traded. He actually can be, although you're going to have to include some stuff to make people take that deal. They cannot move, say, D'Angelo Russell, who lives reportedly on the block and is always in every trade rumor and was willing to remove his implied no-trade clause this year as part of getting a player option, leading a lot of people to believe that he could be on the move as one of the Lakers' assets. You can't move D'Lo now without getting a ball handler in return on that deal or some side deal. D'Lo cannot be moved for a 3 or a
4 or 5, right? And it doesn't have to be a point guard. It can, it can be DeMar DeRozan. He handles the ball well, turned into a very good passer. That's a guy who you could he's not going to stretch the floor, but he does space the floor in interesting ways as an offensive player because of his skill in the mid-range and all that stuff, and he moves the ball well. And okay, so you don't need to get a point guard back, but you do need to get somebody who can dribble and pass, and not just score. And that's part of the problem with Zach LaVine, is he's not great at that other stuff. He's not a connector of players. And so it really does mess with them a little bit. I mean, I think, I don't know what the market's going to look like, Andy, but you could make the argument at least that their best solution to this problem is trying to get D'Lo to play better again. Like, get him playing like he was in November, and this is less of an issue.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Vincent thing, people may not have made the connection to Vincent and D'Angelo Russell and the deadline and whatever options the Lakers may or may not have. First of all, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter at Cam Brothers hit us up. They got to move Gabe Vincent. Like, they got to trade him out.
Yeah, right. Trade him now.
Have fun with that. Good luck with that. Like, you are going, whatever you consider a sweetener that the Lakers possess, and they don't have many at this point, you are likely going to have to attach most, if not all of them, to Vincent because he is a somewhat unproven player in the first year of a $33 million
Right, and it's
deal.
not like crazy money this but like the idea that you could.
He has no current.
He has no value necessarily, and he can't
now.
And he can't play for a team like teams that are rebuilding. Like Utah doesn't want Vincent. Like if they're doing Chicago doesn't want Gabe Vincent. Again, 3-year deal. It's not an expiring contract. It's not like D'Lo where maybe you get 1 more year of him. With Vincent, you get 2 more years. It's like that he's a decent contract number that isn't going to weigh anyone down. But nobody wants, in the situation that is blowing up a team, wants Gabe Vincent. Right. That's not a thing that they want.
Right. And right now, if you are competitive and looking to make a run, Gabe Vincent's not going to be of interest to you because you
can't play.
Right. You don't know when he's going to be back. You don't know what he's going to look like when he's back. You don't know how long he will be available before the playoffs begin. So if you're a contending team, he's not of interest. If you are a rebuilding team, he is currently not of interest unless you are attaching a lot.
Right. And that doesn't mean he's a bad player or a bad
No.
signing because we can't say it. It was a bad.
Well,
unlucky.
he's currently a bad signing.
Well, he's an unlucky signing. We don't know. Bad is like this guy had like a really extensive injury history. Should have seen it coming. Signed him to a big contract. Got hurt. Okay, that's bad. But like that's not what happened here. Gabe Vincent got hurt because only in the sense of like maybe all Miami guards we signed get hurt.
I was going to say, stop
Don't
signing.
Don't sign anybody who played in Miami.
Stop signing
Heat players.
Heat players, definitely Heat guards.
Yes, because they do something over there. Like they have their mojo, which allows everybody to achieve their maximum potential. It's great if you have to go play over there. But like someone's going to like Haywood Highsmith is going to become like this targeted guy in the offseason because he's like thriving in Miami. And like all of a sudden, just stay away from everything with the Heat because you can't repeat what they do. Plus, I think they put little tiny self-destruct like nodules in everybody before they leave. It's like, if you're going to leave here, we're going to explode you. And that's what they do.
Speaking of guys who maybe perform better in Miami, but are certainly helping them right now, is what's going on with the Miami Heat showing that the Lakers made a big mistake in their current draft. A lot of locals may remember a kid playing for the Heat right now who is playing very well, and the Lakers could have had him. Talk about that coming up next, 710 ESPN.
And it is
playing this because I saw the trailer for the Bob Marley movie that's coming up in January. What do you guys think of that?
I think it looks interesting. I think it looks like a really interesting trailer. I've always been, there have been a lot of different rumored Bob Marley projects in the works that have ended up, for one reason or another, falling apart. Like, biopics, I think, can be dicey at times, particularly if you try to go cradle to grave, and I have no idea if that's what this one is doing or not. But especially, I think, a figure like Bob Marley, who is truly iconic. Like, I mean, he is as big as, in his own right, as anybody who's ever been in music. Like, it takes a certain amount of huevos to take on that role. And I gotta say, the actor, his name is Kingsley Ben-Adir, looks convincing in the trailer. He looks really, really convincing.
I haven't seen it, so I was actually
he is a good
I was
actor.
going to ask you, like, who's playing Marley?
He was one of the Barbies.
Yeah, one of the Barbie. The Kens.
The Kens, excuse me. Yes, he was one of the Kens in Barbie. He is a good actor, but like, it takes some stones to play Bob Marley. Like, it really does. Like, if you could crush it, and that's great, but if you don't do well in this role, you have the potential to look pretty foolish. And, like, people are going to be mad if you don't pull off this role. But it looks good. I agree with you.
Did you guys like the Elvis movie?
No.
Haven't seen
it. It was unwatchable.
Yeah.
Like, I got about 30 to 40 minutes in. I'm like, you know what? Austin Butler's really good.
Wow. Then you just turn it off.
Yep.
You don't even make it to the end.
Nope. Oh, I didn't make it to the middle.
Wow.
I mean, it's a long movie to begin with. It's super long.
Yeah, it's like almost 3 hours.
Yeah. And I'm not a big fan of Baz Luhrmann, the director. Like,
Yeah.
I think his movies are just too busy, and there's just too much crap happening during them. I thought Austin Butler was good as Elvis. I'm like, okay, I get the hype with him.
He still acts like Elvis, too, if you see him on the street.
Yeah. You see that sometimes where, like Jeff Bridges, after playing the Dude, he has sounded like the Dude ever since. And I think to some degree it's an extension of sort of who he is as a laid-back California guy. But some of that is just, I think Jeff Bridges became the Dude. And Austin Butler has been Elvis ever since. But no, I thought the movie was unwatchable. It's awful.
I haven't seen it.
I thought you were watching the trailer.
I said that.
I thought you were watching the trailer. And you're
No,
like,
I haven't seen the trailer, and I haven't seen the Elvis movie. I said both of those things. I have nothing to contribute to this part of the
Even
conversation.
interested at all? You're not interested at all in it.
I'm interested in the Marley movie.
But what, the Elvis
Now
movie?
that I know about it.
What about the Elvis movie? No Elvis movie for you ever?
That's statute of limitations is expired on that.
All right.
I'm not that into Elvis, too. Like, I don't find Elvis that interesting, in all honesty. That doesn't help. Like, there's the movie coming out, or it may be out, the Sofia Coppola movie about Elvis, but through Priscilla Presley's
Yeah, why is that?
POV.
There's already an Elvis movie. I don't need to know about her.
I don't know. We need to know what some girl thinks about stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, a woman's opinion? Who needs that?
Why isn't she in the kitchen?
Cooking for
That's
Elvis.
all I need to know.
When you were doing that voice, I thought the soundboard was somebody hit a button. I didn't realize it was you.
If I wanted a lady's opinion about something, I'd go down to the
ladies' store.
ladies' store. Ask about brassieres. And washing dishes.
Funchy, you want to expand on that? Why you're not interested in Priscilla Presley?
No, I just don't. I don't know. Why do I got to know her story? I just want to know Elvis' story.
You're not helping yourself.
Yeah, when it
Presented with a shovel, Funchy took the opportunity to keep digging.
Quote, I'm not interested. Why should I care about her story?
Right. Real man.
like
of
I don't care
21st
about Yoko
century.
Ono's story. You know, I want
Not helping yourself.
Exactly.
Funchy. Not helping yourself.
There's a dump button. Oh, man.
And
I'm performing all week, guys.
all right.
Need more stories about men.
Yeah, we
Doing
haven't
manly things.
We haven't gotten enough stories about white men in Hollywood. We need
More
more
of
of
that.
them. We need more stories about rich white men. Where are those stories?
How about alpha males? Let's get some stories about alpha males. But no girls, that's for sure.
I mean, they let a woman direct the movie. Isn't that enough? Why does it have to be a woman-directed movie about a woman?
The only thing they should be doing is catering to the men.
I'm not saying that, but okay.
Well, I mean, you sort of did.
Right.
You kind of did with that.
We ran with it a little bit.
Okay.
All right. Jaime Jaquez.
Moving along.
Jaime Jaquez last night with the Heat. They played a Christmas game at home against the Sixers. The Sixers did not have Joel Embiid, but the Miami Heat were without Jimmy Butler. Jaime Jaquez in 39 minutes, 31 points, 11 of 15 from the field, 8 of 8 at the line, 10 rebounds, 2 steals. He has been a big contributor.
For you casuals out there, that's good.
He has been a big contributor for the Heat this season, averaging a little under 14 points a game, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists, almost 52% from the field. He is 38% from behind the line. And I think it is safe to say he is contributing more than Jalen Hood-Schifino has been this season.
That is true.
Which is not to say that Jalen Hood-Schifino won't end up a good NBA player, but it does raise the question about this past draft where the Lakers presumably saw a lot of Jaime Jaquez Jr., considering he played down the street at UCLA.
You could have just asked Bergman.
And they took Hood-Schifino one pick before Jaquez. The Lakers, a team right now that could use all the different help that they can get, and they could use all the connectors that they can get, and Jaquez seems like he is a really good connector, raises the question about whether or not they should have just taken Jaquez, or at the very least, did they make a mistake by not taking somebody who could contribute right away?
That's the bigger question to me, because like Jaquez he was like, if you look at mock drafts, anywhere from Miami taking him, that's generally speaking as early as he goes. And I will say too, if I have an inkling that the Heat might want to take somebody, I might just draft that guy. Just be like, 'cause they understand something. They're good at that stuff. They can turn anybody into anything. And then like into the mid to late 20s. Like I saw Jaquez I was looking back at some of these live mock drafts, and that's where he was going. And I don't think he'd be playing nearly as big of a role with the Lakers as he is currently with the Heat, but he'd be playing more than Hood-Schifino.
Right.
And like you say, the bigger question
because he's readier to play now.
Correct. That's the issue.
Even if you love Jalen Hood-Schifino's potential, I want to make it clear, there's no reason to think right now he can't be an NBA player. There was every reason to believe he wouldn't be one this year.
Right. And I'm looking at
he's a one and done.
I'm looking at a lot of people were really upset the Lakers didn't take Cam Whitmore because he had fallen from like high lottery to the Rockets ended up taking him at 20. He can't crack that rotation. Like, he is not playing with the Rockets right now. He's not doing anything. He's spending most of his time in the G League, which is fine. I'm not saying he's going to be a bust, but I'm just the idea that like the Lakers obviously whiffed on Whitmore isn't currently being borne out. If you look at who was available to them, there are 2 guys who are currently making contributions to teams that the Lakers had access to. It's Jaquez and Podziemski playing for Golden State. He was taken at 19 by the Warriors. And obviously guard is a place where they, especially with Vincent being hurt, could really use another guy, and they took one. So they're obviously interested in guard, and Podziemski is playing and Hood-Schifino is not. I think beyond that, like I'm not crushing him too much for not taking Jaquez, just because it looked like they were pretty full, and particularly on the wing, and in terms of immediate contributors. But the flip side of that argument is,
well, if you really quick, they don't know for sure that they were full on the wing. The draft happened before free agency.
That's true.
So they didn't actually know that.
No, that's true. That's true. That's a very good point. That really undercuts almost everything that I just said. Or maybe they just felt like he wouldn't play after they get through free agency. They do all their other stuff.
Right, but they also knew that Jalen Hood-Schifino wasn't going to play either.
Probably. And so I think they probably looked at a lot of these guys and said, anybody we draft in these spots isn't going to be available to play. But if they did, if they went for a full upside, like the question is, did they go long-term upside or short-term help? Do they think Jaquez could help them early? Pajemski, somebody like that could help early, but that over the long term, Hood-Schifino would be the better player?
Which might happen.
Which could happen, absolutely. I would say if you're on a team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis with a very clear ticking clock, you take the guy who can help you fastest. That would be what I would do.
Right. Or, I mean, you trade the pick.
Right.
But like, I get the idea of why the Lakers would want a young player who could be part of their future, like a big part of their future in 4 years.
And look, Hood-Schifino got hurt, and it's like all this. It's not gone. The optics haven't been good on this.
Right. And again, I want to keep emphasizing this. Hood-Schifino could end up a good NBA player. I am not, and I think you're not, Brian, saying that he's a bust.
No, when we watch him in the preseason and in the summer league, for example, I get two things at once. I immediately say he is currently not capable of contributing to an NBA team. But then there were also moments where you would be like, okay, I get it. I get what they see, the pace he plays at, the smart decisions he makes with the ball and all that. He's just got to become a better shooter first and foremost.
Right, but it gets back to that question, though, about what the Lakers were looking for with this draft, and if you have to be more practical than they had been going into this draft, even if you understand, again, why you would covet the idea of a player that, the Lakers don't have much youth at their disposal. The only real guy of note that they have is Max Christie, who is currently out of the rotation altogether. So I get why the Lakers would want this, but like what you want versus what you need,
right? And it's also
not always the same thing.
And it's a little bit unfair to kill them. The Lakers are drafted very well. I'm not down on either their scouting department or the philosophies that they have in determining
their scouting department. Their track record speaks
right,
for itself.
and making the choices about what we think we have available to us in the draft. Like sometimes guys surprise you. Sometimes players just translate. But now people who are high on Jaquez, for example, were like,
he's NBA ready.
He's NBA ready. But like there are a lot of guys who you think are going to be NBA ready because they're longtime college guys, because they've been ready, who turn out to be kind of 4A players. Like they call in baseball, a guy comes up from AAA, really plays well there, can't quite perform in the major leagues. He's kind of a 4A player. And there are a lot of like long-term college guys who look that way when they get to the NBA because they're just not quite good enough. And it can be really hard to tell the difference. But it is fair to say that it hurts when the Lakers are playing like this to see a couple guys who were drafted literally the next two picks.
Yeah.
Who could theoretically help them.
Yeah. Again, it may not speak to anything that's wrong with the scouting department or talent evaluation, but it may speak to, were you valuing the right things in the exact moment when you needed them? Coming up next, tough times for Tommy DeVito and just guys looking to cash in.
The cutlet market is suffering.
The cutlet market is suffering. Also, too, Steve Kerr said some things that I find very, very ironic. Get into all that coming up next. Kamenetsky Brothers, 710 ESPN. excited to see, and it feels a little weird for me to say that I'm really excited to see a movie that involves so much real-life tragedy, but I cannot wait to see the Iron Claw.
The Von Erich movie.
About the Von Erich family in professional wrestling. Like, it's a story that I have been fascinated with for, like, quite literally decades.
I remember we would talk about, like, potentially writing documentaries or, like, trying to create something out of that story.
Yeah.
You know, going back to, like, when we were watching wrestling as kids, like, these guys were massive.
Yeah.
The Von Erich curse.
Yes. I mean, it's what I've always found so fascinating about this is they're a real life family. Like, the Von Erichs were a real family in this fake sport. You know, it's a sport that involves real athleticism, real coordination, you know, real talent in very specific ways, but it's a fake choreographed sport. But their tragedy was not, you know, Vince McMahon written storylines. Like, this was real, true tragedy. Like, and it's just been incredibly, I think, sad but fascinating. And supposedly the movie's terrific. The performances by Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White from The Bear, just up and down the line, they're supposed to be incredible. So
I've only heard good things about it.
Yeah, the trailer looked. I'm talking about good-looking trailers. That looked fantastic. Again, super. It's a weird movie to say you're excited to see, but I am really excited to see it. Steve Kerr, after last night's loss, the Warriors on Christmas against the Denver Nuggets, said that he is, quote, disgusted by the amount of
I love that word.
Free throws that the Denver Nuggets got, in particular Nikola Jokic. He had 18 free throw attempts. And Steve Kerr is upset that he said, quote, I have a problem with how we are legislating the defense out of the games. We are enabling players to BS their way to the foul line. Steph Curry said later, it does cater to the guys who can sell the calls. There's physicality, but it's tough because it's inconsistent at times on either side. And what I find hilarious about this is not that either guy is even wrong. It's that Draymond Green, before he was suspended indefinitely for socking Yusuf Nurkic, said exact words, he was doing that because he was trying to sell the call. I sell the call with my arms. So this is something that the Warriors have benefited from for years. That is hilarious.
It is. And I
they've one of the masters of the trade as a foundation of their team.
And you know, Chris Paul currently plays for them. I mean, he's not quite, you know, he's not as consequential a player as he used to be, but I mean, like,
we'll talk about somebody who's made that his ethos.
He's the godfather of that. You know, I mean, like, he's the oracle to which other players come visit. It's always fun to me to watch athletes, coaches, whatever, say stuff. And I always wonder, like, if they are self-aware enough they may not care, but, like, if they're self-aware enough to understand what something is going to look like. Like, wait a minute, what about your guy? Like, where were you a week and a half ago, like, when that... And I suspect Steve Kerr is probably smart enough to get it and just doesn't care. But it is one of my favorite things with coaches, with players, with whatever.
Oh, I mean, look, I'm not calling out, like, hypocrisy that I'm outraged by. I don't care about any of it. I just think it's really funny to see him complain about something that it's like the way Tom Brady is now bashing the NFL for having too many rules that make it soft.
Right, exactly.
You're taking away the contact and the physicality.
There was a section of the NFL rulebook for like 9 years that just said, do not touch Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Like, that was the only rule. There were no subsections or anything. Don't touch him.
These are all rules that were literally created to protect
you.
Not even other quarterbacks.
Nope.
You. Because you're like the only superstar who cannot run at all and cannot escape a pocket.
And you're too important.
Yes.
Look, here's the thing. Like, and I am not one of these people who gets upset with the NFL legislating defense in ways that makes it harder. First of all, player safety in the NFL is such like, I don't get excited watching some guy get his head taken off. It's like it's a person inside that helmet, and I don't need that level. It's a violent game, and as much as you can take the gratuitous violence out of it and let the athleticism and the other parts of the game come through, I am for that. Basketball is the same, but like both of these sports, I am for things that allow points to be scored. I want to see the natural athleticism and the craft that NBA players have, and I do not like 90s style NBA. Like you go back and you watch the Jordan
Lakers starting lineup.
Yes. You go back and watch the Jordan documentary, and the most shocking thing, other than wow, I forgot how good Michael Jordan was, is that like it's 3 minutes left in the conference finals and whatever, and the score is Indiana 74, Chicago 73. It's like I don't need that. Like that is unwatchable to me at this point. I want to see what these guys can do if they are not being grabbed and hand checked. And it's the same way in football. I want to see what these guys can do when given an opportunity to go catch a ball or not be concussed or all that kind of stuff. So don't complain to me about defense being legislated out of games. I want less defense. Give me less defense, more offense. I like 132 to 128.
I do think, though, some of this stuff is unfair to defenders. Like,
it's completely unfair.
You are at a place right now where, as a defender, you have to be so self-conscious of the exact sweet spot where you are allowed to hit not just a quarterback,
anybody.
But anybody.
There are times when when it is absolutely unfair, and even as a protect the players and player safety, whatever advocate, like that is you have to still be able to play, particularly in football. You have to be able to play the game. I'm not saying that like it doesn't get absurd sometimes. Like again,
but I think it gets absurd in ways
don't
that
touch
actually
Tom Brady.
Right, but I think it gets absurd at times in ways that hurts the game.
It does. You got to call it correct. It's still better than the alternative. That's the thing people forget. Like, oh, like you can't have like you have sort of this like romantic view of whether it's football or basketball, like the way defenses play back in my day and all that kind of stuff. And go back and watch those games. Like they are terrible. They're terrible. And okay, maybe you're somebody who really loves the clutching and the grabbing and the physicality of it. It's like, okay. But what I really want to be able to see is some of the super sick stuff that, that Devin Booker can do, or, Nikola Jokic or whatever, if they're not having to give piggyback rides to the other opposing defense. Like the Rambus McHale thing, like it's like that was barely a foul in the 80s.
Was
let alone a flagrant, like we're blowing a whistle for that? Come on.
Yeah, as the saying goes, it was a very
different era.
Different time. All right, coming up, could the Rams be in a position where in week 18 the game means more to the Niners than the Rams? Talk about that coming up next, 710 ESPN.
And it continues on 710 right now.
Now, Long Beach claims these guys. Long Beach absolutely claims Sublime. There's no arguing about that.
How fast can they sing? And what?
no idea.
And have they ever been to Cleveland?
Kamenetsky brothers in for Travis and Slee. And, maybe a week or so ago, talking about the Rams and this playoff push that they're on that just a few weeks ago seemed completely improbable and not something we'd be talking about at all. Right now, according to ESPN, they have a 75% chance of getting into the playoffs. Thinking that, okay, if you are looking for this for the Rams, you want actually, even though they are a hated division rival, you would want the Niners to keep winning out.
Yes.
Because for those who don't know, the Rams and Niners play their final game of the season against each other. And if the Rams were still trying to play for playoff positioning, playoff entry, any of that stuff, you would hope that the Niners, who've been one of the best teams in the NFC, currently in a three-way tie at the top of the NFC.
Right. They've already clinched the division.
Right.
Like the Rams can't catch San Francisco.
Right. But the hope would be that the Niners would have everything on their end sewed up to where they can't move in any direction. They can't have home field affected throughout the playoffs in any direction, anything like that. They'd have nothing to play for. So if the implications were there, the Rams might have an easier time with that game because the Niners are sitting their starters. It just dawned on me, it's not probable, but not impossible, that the Rams might actually have more of their stuff sewed up in either direction by week 18 and maybe could sit some of their guys, whereas the Niners are looking to win that game. Not a given. I wouldn't even say it's probable, but the fact that it's not impossible speaks to the way the Rams have been playing of late.
And it does, and it also speaks kind of like what can happen this week. The Rams currently sitting at about a 75% chance of making the playoffs, but if they win this week, it goes up to about 88, and if they win and Seattle loses at home to Pittsburgh, they're in. And so really all that we're
Pittsburgh, by the way, for people who don't know, has something to play for right
they're
now.
still in. They're still in it in the AFC. And so, and is Geno Smith back, or are we still in the Drew Lock?
Geno Smith played.
He played this week?
Yep.
Okay. That certainly helps them. Better than Drew Lock, that's for sure. Like the Rams, if they clinch a spot this week, the only thing that really can change for them is, are you a 6 or are you a 7? And practically speaking, other than trying to jerry-rig it so you pick your opponent, which I don't think the Rams should be in the business of trying to do, there's no difference, practically speaking, between being a 6 seed and a 7. You are on the road, almost surely on the road, no matter what, all the way through the playoffs, unless you have the incredibly improbable NFC championship game between the 6 and 7 seeds coming out of it. Like, you're almost surely going to be on the road. So,
like the Western Conference semifinals for the Lakers and Warriors last year.
Correct. Like something really weird. You could not risk getting guys hurt in San Francisco against the Niners. Like, absolutely, the Rams could be locked in San Francisco wouldn't be.
It's crazy, though. Like, the idea that the Niners could possibly have more to play for in that game at 11-4, and a team that has looked like the class of the NFC for most of this season. Last night,
well, look, it's not that the Niners could have. It's not surprising that in the last week of the season the Niners could be playing for a top seed, or it's that the Rams could have nothing really big to play for.
Yes,
and it's not a bad thing.
Right,
like you would think. Like the worry 5 weeks ago was, by week 18 the Rams wouldn't have anything to play for because they're out of the playoffs, not because their seed is kind of basically locked in and it doesn't really matter one way or the other. It's because they're already out, where and so that they can clinch it this week is amazing.
Yeah,
and they need. At the very least, even if Seattle wins, don't screw this whole thing up by losing the Giants. Don't do that.
They've got right now, too, like tiebreakers, that sort of stuff. I'm looking right now at ESPN standings based on the playoff race. There's nobody that I can see right now who has a tiebreaker over the Rams.
Like Packers.
The Packers?
Yeah, they beat them head-to-head. The Green Bay beat the Rams. So I'm pretty sure that would, in a head-to-head setup.
Okay, I guess they're not
tiebreaker.
listing it just because the Rams have a better record than them right now, so the tiebreaker thing doesn't come into play.
Yeah, the Rams really could have used Carolina to pull that upset over Green Bay. We talked about the Cincinnati game and the Pittsburgh game. The Green Bay game was the other one that was like, guys, come on. Like, Packers have played better. Jordan Love looks like he's going to be a pretty good quarterback, but like that shouldn't have happened.
It is very difficult, though, to ask the Panthers to get their bleep together. Like
I don't think they were doing it on purpose.
No, but I'm just saying that's a big request.
Yeah, you don't want to be leaning on those
come
guys.
Come on, Panthers, you have
and
one
the Rams,
job.
They don't. It's not like the Rams need it. Like, just keep winning and you're in and all that kind of stuff. But like, had that happened, then this would have been set up well, because I believe of the teams that are still there, the Packers are a team that would hold a tiebreaker over the Rams.
It is just crazy, though, the idea that with 2 weeks left in this season, the Rams would be in a place where they control their fate. They are not reliant on an entire, beautiful mind scenario with all the equations in front of you spinning around.
Nope.
You just win your games, and this week you have a winnable game.
It would even be impressive if they needed to win that game. It's like, if you win out, and it includes the Week 18 game in San Francisco, and I'm getting used to saying Week 18, by the way. If you're getting, you got that Week 18 game in San Francisco, like, it may be a hard one, but if you win it, you're in. Like, even that a month ago would have sounded pretty appealing. The idea that they could clinch it and be in before that game, I didn't see that coming.
The idea that Week 18 could actually mean more to the Niners in terms of playoff implications than the Rams, that is not something that I thought was going to be possible, even like
Didn't
a
have that
week
in your
ago.
bingo card, did you?
No.
We need to retire that expression, by the way.
Did not have that one on the bingo card. Coming up next, the dump, then a little crosstalk. I believe it's going to be Ireland and Momo. That is all coming up next, 710 ESPN.
This is the
here in Japan is flying off the shelf. In an email to the Japan Times, Fanatics, an official MLB partner, said that in the 24 hours after Otani announced he'd signed with the Dodgers, sales of Dodgers merchandise across the Fanatics network in Japan, which includes MLBshop.jp, soared more than 8,300%.
And now look. Naysayers, Andy, will say, well, that was probably a pretty small number to begin with. And so when you start multiplying, like 8,300%, once you get into 4-digit growth, nearly 5-digit growth in 24 hours, I don't care what number you were starting with.
It has to be 5 now
good.
with Yamamoto.
Oh,
It has to
I'm
be
sure.
At least
And
5.
I was about to say, it's probably just 5. It's probably 5 just on Otani stuff. And when you add Yamamoto in there, you're talking high fives. It's like this is exactly what they were hoping for in terms of revenue streams and all this other stuff. Like they're gonna have media deals that are exclusive to Japan that are, you'll see stuff on the field here. Like this opens up so much stuff for the franchise.
And this is how they will be confidently paying Otani $680 million not to play baseball.
And why
This is all
Otani
said
can
and
just
done.
give Porsches away to anybody who does something nice for him.
Well, we've established that is in part because he's a Porsche ambassador.
Right. He's got a lot of endorsement deals. Why he can defer $68 million a year.
Some movie franchises coming out in 2024, returning, rebooting, however you want to put it. I'm going to name the franchise just real quick. Yes, you're excited to see it. No interest in seeing it. Alien.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I think it's a really good franchise. I've just never been that into the Alien franchise.
Same here.
I think it's well done. I'm just not
Who's
that
directing
interested in it. I don't know off the top of my head who is directing
I need
it.
to know that.
Twister.
Yes.
Nah.
I'm not too interested in it. No.
Not that interested in a Twister. I feel like everything that we ever needed to learn from Twister or ever see from
Right.
Twister,
Very
we saw
very
from the
curious
original
what has
Twister.
happened to these people since. I need closure.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, 2 of the actors are not with us anymore.
Oh, in that case, pass.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
What's the second one?
There's Bill Paxton. There's Philip Seymour Hoffman.
That's right.
I forgot he was in that.
Yes.
Yes.
Me too.
Mad Max. So
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
So. Have you seen the trailer for?
Is it
Yeah.
George Miller again?
Yeah, it's George Miller again.
Sold.
Furiosa
Sold.
prequel
Sold.
with Anna
Sold.
Joy Taylor and Chris Hemsworth.
She's
Yes,
awesome.
Thor.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm in.
It looks
All in.
phenomenal. Bad Boys.
I like the last
Is it
one.
The fifth
It was,
one?
it was
I'm
funny
out.
to watch.
We've had enough.
Nah, me
No,
too.
pass.
I'm
Enough.
done. Yeah.
Oh, come on. It's funny.
That's a lot of.
I'm not
parts
saying
you're
that it
seeing.
isn't funny. I'm
Yeah.
just saying there's been enough.
No, I don't have to go to the movie theater to watch it. I'll watch it on HBO for free or something.
Yeah, that's sort of the
Yeah.
standard. Would you want to go see
That's
this?
it. That's
in
it.
a
Would you
theater?
pay American money?
The Crow? I'm in.
I don't know. It's such a good movie. Like, you don't want to ruin it.
And it is a great movie, and I realize we were talking before about stars no longer with us. That's obviously Brandon Lee. But I thought the first one was really, really good. And enough time has passed that I think you could do something new with it that actually feels fresh. So
I haven't seen the original in so
It's
long.
good.
I know it's good. I remember it being good, but I also don't remember kind of what it's about or why it was good and whether or not this would be a good idea. So I'm going to reserve judgment until I go back and watch The Crow again, which, let's be honest, probably isn't going to happen.
John Wick.
Oh, keep making them.
Yeah, keep them. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the death
I
count
was
so
John
far?
Wick 20.
Yeah.
Is John Wick though going to be still with us? Because he had spoiler alert.
Have not
Spoiler
seen
alert.
4. Stop. All right.
Let's just say
Stop
What's
talking
next
so
on the
loud.
list?
okay.
We are not out of the John Wick 4 massive spoiler.
Transformers.
Another
No.
No,
one?
I just saw a new one that just came out
Stop.
recently on Paramount.
I'm torn on this because as a movie, I don't really need to see another one. But as somebody who works some freelancing with a creative agency that has done some work with Transformers,
Right, but that's different than
and
you
I was on
actually
the
going to
project.
see it.
Oh no, I'm not going to see it. I just want to
No.
see my work.
Right, they don't need you to keep making Transformers. It's not like there will be a Transformers 11 is dependent on whether Andy sees it in the theater.
Okay, a couple more of these. Beverly Hills Cop. The new trailer is out.
Yes.
Oh, it looks terrible.
It does look terrible.
Look terrible, but I got to watch it.
I'll watch it.
That new trailer looks so bad. Jorge, have you seen it?
I have not the trailer, but I saw something that Eddie Murphy says, I'm not 20 years old anymore, so everything hurts, but hey, we got through it.
Why does he still have to wear the Detroit Lions jacket?
I will
Come
say
on.
that.
Because people will recognize it. That's
That thing when he's driving the truck and they say, like, you're making people angry again. He's like, me? I was like, who is? Like, everybody. It does look terrible.
It looks
At least they brought back the guy, Aqua Foley. What's his name? What's his name? Bronson Pinchon was his name?
Bronson Pinchot.
Yeah.
Ahmed Foley.
Yes, at least they brought him back.
He's going to be back. You're going to have Judge Reinhold back. You're going to have John Ashton back.
Is the woman who the
No.
lead, she died, didn't she?
I don't know if she died or not, but she has not really acted
Oh, you know, might be.
since that movie.
Is it the woman from Fletch who died?
I don't know. But the woman from Beverly Hills Cop, I think is still alive and just basically didn't do any acting after
I'm
Beverly
just
Hills
killing
Cop.
people in every movie.
You
I can
really
think of.
are.
Just killing everyone.
And then the last one, Planet of the Apes.
Sure. I'll watch those.
The last installments of Planet of the Apes were awesome.
I have not seen any of them yet.
They're
The ones with Caesar, right?
Yeah.
Caesar?
they're
Yeah.
really good.
I only saw the first two with Caesar, and after that, I checked out.
The most recent ones have been really good. I'm not sure about the new one, just beyond what they're going to do with it. It's a different director, and the director they had before, Matt Reeves, he's very good with those. He did the latest Batman with Robert Pattinson, if you like that one. So I can't give it a confident I'm in, but I am curious. I'll go see it. I definitely curious what is going to be there with it. Happy birthday, Ozzie Smith, St. Louis Cardinals, 69th birthday. Best defensive shortstop ever.
Best I've ever seen.
In the conversation. Who do you guys like? Ozzie, by the way, is somebody that if you grew up in St. Louis like Brian and I in that period, he is somebody that is always going to be one of your all-time favorite athletes just from having been there. Who do you guys have as some of their, I grew up during this time in this city, therefore this guy's my guy?
Oof. I mean,
And feel free to just adopt anybody from Cleveland because that's apparently how we do it now. So you got all those athletes too.
I don't know. Lloyd Vaught from the Clippers. You know what I'm saying? Lloyd Vaught from the Clippers.
I'm not going to lie. I did not see that answer
Hey,
coming.
Even Loy Vaught's family doesn't answer the question that way.
Wait, he doesn't want to see the point of view of Priscilla Presley, but
That
he
is
does
a
want to
We're
Deep
reaching, baby.
hole.
We're reaching.
That is a
Hold on.
deep
I'm going to
pull.
go pull up some of Loy Vault's rosters just to see who didn't come to mind for Funchy. I want to say Jorge while I stall.
That is
Who's
deep.
That for you?
So the question again was somebody who's not from here that just seems like he's from here?
By virtue of where you grew up, at the time that you grew up, who became like one of your guys?
They don't even have to be like the best player. Ozzie Smith was pretty damn good. Like Willie McGee, another example for both Andy and I are just like huge Willie McGee
Or
ride
Jose
or die.
Okendo.
Jose
from that period.
Okendo, just
Utility
ride or
man
die.
extraordinaire.
You know, like you just have your certain guys, like, you know, and, you know, they're hockey players I could bore people with or whatever. Stump Mitchell, the old, you know, Otis Anderson, like guys who played for the old Cardinals. Who is that for you? Like, they don't have to be that good.
Right. I'm thinking of
Like
just
Loy
that
Vaught, for
guy.
example.
Eric Pikowski.
Good one. Good one. He's Eric Piatkowski until like 3 years ago was arguably like the third greatest Clipper of all time. It was like Chris Paul,
Blake
Elton
Griffin.
Brand, Blake Griffin, and then Eric
Eric
Piatkowski.
Piatkowski.
I mean, this speaks to, one of the issues with the Clippers in terms of just look, I think they're a well-run organization right now. They're playing very well, but the inability to create a true footprint in this city, you can make a really strong argument that the greatest Clipper of all time is Ralph Lawler. And I am not saying that as, like a backhanded compliment to Ralph Lawler. He's fantastic. Like
Lawler's Law.
Ralph Lawler was
It's the law. Bingo.
He was legitimately great as a broadcaster, but when your greatest of all time is your broadcaster, that speaks to a lack of success. It just does. Again, he's phenomenal. I'm not trying to take anything away from Ralph Lawler, but that shouldn't be an answer that feels correct. Doc, you besmirched player Doc Rivers with the Clippers.
That's right.
Funchy.
Glenn Doc Rivers. That's right. Glenn Doc Rivers.
Charles Smith, Olden Polynice, the
No.
sheriff.
That's right. And also Ken Norman,
Ken Norman.
Gary Grant.
Oh, I'm looking. Yeah, Gary.
Terry
Grant.
DeHare.
So that was your era. That
I mean, I grew up
90s
watching
Clippers?
those Clipper games too, in addition to the Laker games. So like around those era of the '90s and stuff. Yeah, I was watching
Ron
a lot of
Harper, Mark Jackson,
Danny Manning, yeah.
Danny Manning, Elmore Spencer, Dwayne Washington.
For Spencer, that's right.
Was that, by the way, when John Ireland was part of the Clippers team?
Yes, I think so. No, just go in there.
Just go in there.
This is when you fell in love with the talents of John Ireland as well. He's talking about the early '90s Clippers team that Funchy loved.
Yeah, my first crack at NBA play-by-play with the 17-win Clippers of Darius Miles.
You know what though? Those teams were at times super fun. Like they weren't good, but like Odom and Darius Miles and Quentin Richardson and those guys all together.
Kenyon Dooling.
Keon
Dooling, Corey Maggette. They were legitimately fun. Not good, but fun.
All right. Can I tell? Yeah, I'm going to tell it. It's
you
a funny,
always land on you're going to tell it,
yeah,
John.
It's a funny story. So I'm on the plane, my first year calling Clipper play-by-play, and I'd gotten to know Alvin Gentry pretty well. And Gentry walks back. He's sitting up in the front, and I'm sitting in the back.
Yeah.
And he walks back, and he's got this look on his face, like he just lost his dog. He's like disappointed, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? He goes, I just broke up a fight in the front cabin between two of our players over who met a girl first last night in a club. He goes, it's like they're in high school. And I looked at him and I go, Alvin, last year they both were.
Oh, my God.
Because it was like two 18-year-olds.
I was going to say, without naming names, I feel like I could name names.
Yeah, you could figure it out.
Wow.
And then the other thing was he said Darius came to him and said.
Darius Miles.
Yeah, Darius came to him later and said, he goes, Darius, how's everything going? Did you find a place to live? He goes, well, I did, but they wanted a check for first and last month's rent. And Gentry goes, yeah, that's standard.
Yeah.
He goes, well, I don't have a checkbook.
Okay.
And he goes, Darius, you and I are going to go into the bank and we're going to show them that you just signed a contract for $10 million and you'll see how fast they give you a checkbook. But it is, he was from East St. Louis.
Right. He grew up with nothing.
These are like basic life skills that like most teams have a player personnel department to help rookies adjust to life as an adult.
Right.
Yeah,
but it is a good
those
reminder.
are like services that like either the players union or your franchise has people to help.
The Lakers have a really good person.
Kwame Brown has told the story before about like not knowing what to do with the suits that you're wearing, and
he would crumble them up and throw them in the corner. Right. Yeah, Wilbon went and did a story on him, or somebody went and did a story on him, and he had been they knew he was going to be the first pick in the draft, so his agent bought him a suit.
Right, and Kwame,
and as he went over to his house, and the suit was wadded up in like you would take dirty laundry and throw it in the corner.
He grew up in both poverty and chaos.
Yeah.
Like it was a really turbulent upbringing for Kwame Brown, and like what to do with a suit was very low on the things that he needed to know growing up, and that he was not
It is a reminder, particularly with basketball, because guys enter the league younger than they. Football, you got to go to college for 3 years, before you can get in the league, and in that time you can develop some of those skills and all that kind of stuff. Like you go from 1 year of college, you play in the G League now for a year or whatever, and you're suddenly a millionaire in the NBA. Like 19, you
also,
understand what to do with everything.
I'm in my
that's hard.
mid-40s and I still don't have basic life skills on certain things.
Right there with you, sister.
I mean, let's be real.
The amount of things I don't know how to do is long and plentiful.
Yeah, basic life skills.
This sounds like a conversation for a little super crosstalk.
Yeah.
ESPN AM 710 Los Angeles.
KRDC AM 1110 Pasadena, Los Angeles.
K256CX 99.1 FM Pasadena, Los Angeles.
It's the greatest segment in LA sports radio history.
Oh my God. When the shows come together for magic on the radio.
It will only grow stronger. Super Crosstalk.
Are we ready for Mason and Ireland to join Travis and Slee?
Super Crosstalk begins.
Super Crosstalk presented by In-N-Out Burger. In-N-Out. That's what a hamburger is all about.
It's time for
Soper Crosstalk.
So you guys drew the short straw of the Travis and Sliwa. I think I'm the only regular host working today. Am I not, Jorge? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you are.
And I think Mason and I are the first two back. I think Travis and Sliwa and I'm not sure when Sedano and Cap are coming back.
I'm in with Clinton tomorrow and Friday, and I think Thursday there isn't a show, period.
Yeah, there's a lot of bowl games coming up. This is the last Mason and Ireland show of the year. I know that.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to screw off a lot, Ramona. Just letting you know in
I
advance.
am so down for that.
We're going to do a lot of screwing around.
Well, the holidays takes it out of you.
It really does.
Your mind becomes jealous. I mean, all four of us have kids and extended
Yeah,
and
I
when
did
you
not
do,
know
what
this.
you realize is you have to just survive the holidays.
Right, I was like, this whole
The
idea.
the time
winter
when you
break.
reaction.
I'm like, who is it a break for? The
Yeah.
teachers?
I
Because I'm
asked-
not getting a break.
I asked my wife, we were getting our daughter to sleep and whatever, and she fell asleep in our bed. And all this, so it was like, okay, I'm leaving the room now because I can't really be in there. And so I wasn't going to see her till today. Gave her a hug and kiss. I said, hope you had a really Christmas. Did you have a good Christmas? She said, I did. I'm so glad it's over.
Right, because
she works so hard during Christmas.
Yeah, and it's like putting on a command performance.
Yeah.
It's like
I dread every December. I absolutely dread. I find all this stuff so stressful between Hanukkah
Do
and
you guys
Christmas.
celebrate both?
Yeah.
We do.
You and your wife celebrate both. Brian, you too?
We do, and
do
my
too. All
son,
three of you.
my oldest, is a Christmas Eve baby. So we call December is Benapalooza, but he's really hard to show. It's a
hard.
nice thing because he doesn't want much, but it's really stressful. It's like parents,
my son's
grandparents,
on, my
everybody
son's
like,
on
what do we get
December
Ben?
16th, so
Yeah.
I get a little of
Yeah.
that. But that's December 24th. That's like
I
my,
went to a
my
Christmas
neighbor. I have a
Eve
neighbor
party.
is a December 24th
Yeah.
birthday, and I always feel a little bad for
It's just
her.
he doesn't care about you maybe one day get a little when I have friends or something like that over, but he doesn't want much stuff. But we've got 2 sets of grandparents, and then we want to get him something. Other people get it's like, what do you want? And it's like Hanukkah, Christmas, birthday. What do you want? It's like I don't know.
Do you know what I did? Literally, I am like totally in a different place with getting presents because Daniel wants stuff all the time. Like we go to the market, I want that, I want that, I want that. So then when it comes time for presents, I'm like, I'm gonna get him what he actually wants. He just wants markers,
right?
You know, like, do you know what I got my husband for Christmas? White T-shirts. And socks.
I would love
cigarettes.
He was
that
like,
you can
"This
roll
is
up in the
great."
sleeves.
No.
I was like, I got my 5-year-old some
that's
markers.
not only a very practical gift, but I would welcome that gift.
I'm wearing my Christmas gift. These are my
that's
pants.
good.
You got new shoes?
You
no
know?
pants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Nevin usually gets me some concert tickets. That's like
Did he
cool.
this year?
He did. He got me to Alanis Morissette in August.
Okay, so
That's exciting. And Joan
Where?
Jett.
Where
At
is
the
she
Forum.
play? Okay, at the Forum.
Yeah.
That's a good venue for her.
I always, as you guys know, I'm Broadway John. So whenever we go to New York, I make a point of seeing a Broadway show.
I love Broadway. We should go to a Broadway show.
Have you seen Jagged Little Pill?
No, I heard it's great.
So, Jagged Little Pill, this guy walks out on stage.
Okay.
And I thought I was being punked. He looks exactly like Steve Mason.
Really?
So much so that I took a picture of him. I normally would never do that, and sent it to Mason. I go, I think your brother's in this play. And he goes, geez, we ended up having him on the show.
Wow.
I'll backtrack and show you a picture of him. It's like
I love that you're Broadway John.
Yeah, but
I
Jagged
am
Little
like
Pill,
Broadway
which is
Momo.
all Alanis Morissette music, is a great play if you ever get a chance to see
Okay,
it.
I want to go see that, and I also want to see the Michael Jackson one that's coming to the Pantages. Everybody's all excited
When did you
about
see
that.
it, John?
Jagged Little Pill?
Yeah.
Probably 2 years ago, like right around COVID time.
Okay, I'm just looking up the right actor here.
Yeah.
What's the storyline of Jagged Little Pill?
It is basically high school kids dealing with coming of age.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense for that album.
But all the songs
Oh my
are
God!
hers. Did you find him?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean,
oh my God!
like Sean.
His name is Sean Allen Krill.
And by the way, he was such a good sport about it, Brian, that when he came on, he was like, I sent him a picture of Mason, and then I sent Mason a picture of him, and they both decided that they were like, what would you do if that guy walked out on? I had a great seat too. I was in like the 5th row, and he walked out on stage. I go, okay, I'm being punked right now. That's Mason.
Yeah.
And he's singing. He looks so. The only thing is Sean's hair is not quite as gray as Mason's, but the facial features, the haircut.
Well, maybe he's dying it like Mason used to.
Could be. I don't know. But and by the way, when we brought him on, he could not have been more in on the joke. He was great.
I just say,
well, this is a pretty big come up for him. I mean, Broadway, like that's a select audience. This is a totally
But
new
like, if
audience.
he ever wins awards, like he looks enough like Mason that Mason will take credit for them.
Of course.
Right.
Mason
Speaking
would now
of
say, "I
awards,
won a
wait a minute.
Tony."
Wait. I heard a little something
About?
You and Mace.
Oh, going into the Southern California Sports Broadcasters Hall
Yes,
of Fame
and
next
wait,
month?
do you know what kind of clout they have? They moved it from a luncheon to a breakfast
You know
to
why?
make
Wow.
sure that these two
You know
guys
why?
can attend.
Bergman told him we wouldn't go if we had to miss the show.
Yeah.
So he said, "All right, then we'll move it to the morning." We're going in with Pepe.
With Pepe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bill Walton's going in with us.
What?
That's a hell of a class.
Yeah. There's like 5 or 6 people that.
How
you
early
guys-
is this breakfast?
8, 9.
Oh, I
something
don't know
like
if I
So
can
you'll
make
have been
it.
up for 3 hours
So
already.
is Mason the first person to get in without winning a Bob Miller Award?
No, he's won a Bob Miller Award, but he's always been with me. He's never won one
by himself.
solo, and I've won 3 solo.
You've carried him to all of his Bob
which
Miller
drives him
Awards.
crazy. One year they gave us the Mason and Ireland Award.
Yeah.
But they put my name first, and Mason threw it up against the wall and broke it.
So he is
Are
Oates.
you serious?
He is
This is
Oates
so
to your
great.
Hall, Messina to your Loggins.
Yeah,
Wow.
but he will not go there. Yeah.
Well, I just did.
Yeah. But when we win this award, I've already told him, like, he wants to, like, he's very into who's going to present us and what he's going to say. I'm not saying anything. I hope I get there on time.
Who's gonna present?
I think he's going to have Morales do it, but
Okay.
it might be Sedano.
Okay.
I don't know, but it's a big deal to Mason.
It is a big
It
deal.
is no deal to me at all. I'm like,
Well, I mean, you've got so many solos. Like, where are you going to put this award?
well, there's isn't really. I don't think you get anything for it. You just get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Well, where are you going to hang your jacket?
Well, like Pete Arbogast is into this. You should have Pete.
Pete's the one. He's the president of the Southern California
Yeah.
Sports Broadcast.
I mean, he's got the voice.
Yeah,
He does.
He does. I've always been jealous of Pete's voice. He
really has a great broadcast.
Phenomenal
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
Nice guy. Phenomenal voice.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
I can't
he
even
ended
try
up
to
calling.
imitate it. I can't do
he's
it.
done USC for like 20 years, but
Yeah.
he for about 5 or 6 years, maybe longer. Pete did Cincinnati Bengals football, which I thought he was perfect for. And then I think he just moved out to California, and that was over.
Yeah,
but
he's
Cincinnati. Yeah.
one of
I
those
get
guys
that.
where
Yeah.
the voice just dictates what you're going to do for a living.
Exactly. You know how you're picking up from there. So what did you guys do to fill 3 hours the day after
so
Christmas?
you were talking about this, like our Christmas present. We did the show on Friday, right? We did. There was a show that was the day after the Rams won. When the Lakers had a game,
They beat Oklahoma City
right.
too. Or
well,
no, they beat
that was
Oklahoma City on
Minnesota. It was a
Saturday.
Minnesota game.
Yeah.
So there was a Laker game, the Thursday night result for the Rams, and Yamamoto. Like that was our
Yeah.
Friday. It's like Merry Christmas to you guys.
Yeah, that's a home
Today
run of a
we had
day.
to do
Yeah.
we had to think of stuff.
Well, I've got a whole bunch of stuff.
It's harder.
I sent
Yeah.
Ramona like
Yeah,
20
there's a
things
lot.
this morning.
Yeah.
So and Laura sent a bunch of stuff too. So we're good. We got a lot of stuff going on. By the way, do you all three of you agree with me that if there are no injuries, the Celtics are now the team to beat in the NBA?
I
don't
walked out of that
think
arena and I
that
said,
there
"That's
is-
the NBA champion."
Right. I don't think there is a weakness on
Yeah.
that team. And
I
if
don't know,
it-
let's see who the Lakers play next because I feel like they could make
No,
that team
I got to
look
be honest.
Like,
I watched that game last night,
We're
and
playing
They're really
Charlotte.
good.
I have
Okay.
been on the fence, and it's like I've been on the fence about who I think is the favorite. Is it Denver? Should be because the defending champs. After watching Boston last night, I'm like, that's the
I had
team.
the exact same reaction, and
Yep.
Bill Simmons was sitting about 5 rows in front of me. And so when I was going back up to do the second half, I stopped and said hi to Bill, and I said, "By the way, your team's going to win the title." And he reacted, with a reaction that I think most Celtic fans feel. He goes, "Yeah, but can you trust Porzingis
that's
to
the
be
thing.
healthy?"
That's the thing because what separates them is that Porzingis is their third or fourth best player, depending on it. But he does things that are so crazy, weird, and special. And when he's healthy, can be a best player on the team.
So,
Type
do you guys
guy.
want to help me workshop a story I'm going to write?
Sure.
Because I'm going to do a Porzingis story.
Okay,
Right?
keep talking. I got to go tell Brian.
Because it feels to me like he came. This is a guy who comes into the league, drafted by Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson is kind of one of one as well. Within a few months, he is the toast of New York, and he is anointed the unicorn because he has such a unique skill set. And sometimes when somebody has like a unique skill set, that can be a blessing and a curse. Like he is a big who plays like a guard. He's a post player who can shoot it from 3 at 40% or whatever he's at this year, and he's got incredible passing skills. he's a little like like Pau Gasol, but if he could shoot a three. Like, he's got that kind of basketball IQ and vision. I don't think he's as tough as Gasol in the block. Like, maybe his post moves aren't quite as good. But nobody knows how to defend him. Like, the Lakers tried all sorts of things.
He's a legit 7'3".
He's literally 7'3". Like, I never take selfies with players that I cover, but I kind of wanted to yesterday because he legitimately is that much taller than me.
The
He's
first
like
time
tallest
Mason
guy
and I
I've stood
saw
next
him
to.
was in Summer League in Vegas, and Warren Legary had just come on the show, and he goes, hey, come back and watch. Porzingis was on the Knicks Summer League team. He goes, come back and watch Porzingis. I'll give you guys good seats. So he put us on the court. Warren put us on the court. So Porzingis is standing right next to us, and I thought, he's Yao Ming tall.
Yes.
Like, he's that tall, and he has handles.
Yeah.
You know, he can dribble
And
and shoot.
he's like
his whole issue, Andy, is injuries.
And I think in Dallas, John, I covered this series. Remember when the Clippers played Dallas? Yeah. And he was such
Lucas
a defensive.
scored 50 points every game
It
that
could
series,
because
too.
he had to.
Yeah.
But he was such a defensive liability. They had to put Boban in the game. Yeah. Okay. Because I don't know what happened to his confidence, but playing that year, Rick Carlisle kind of is a hard guy to play for. He's a tough dude. Like, he's not going to suffer fools or anything like that. And I think that was not a great fit personality-wise.
This seems right now in Boston the first time he's ever been on a good team where he is happy with his role.
Yeah.
Happy with the pieces around
and he
him.
doesn't have to be the guy.
Well, I think
he just signed a new deal. He could have got a lot more elsewhere, but he signed there. And
that's if you look at their 5 starters, there isn't a weak link. Even Derek White is really good.
Derek White is phenomenal.
Drew Holiday was like the perfect tonic for them. I was talking to Sean Grandy, who has my job for the Celtics, and he said something really interesting. He said the one thing that Holiday did was he brought the temperature of our team down in a good way.
Yes.
You know, Marcus Smart was always running on tilt.
Yep.
And Drew Holiday is just so steady and so professional. And so are Tatum and Brown. Tatum and Brown are like, if you wanted to show a video of how to conduct yourself as an NBA player, you would show those two guys. And so now they've got Tatum, Brown, Holiday, and Porzingis. So supposedly the one guy that you don't have to worry about is Derek White, but you do have to worry about Derek White. He's a good shooter.
I don't know who told you don't have to worry about Derek White.
Well, but
really
what I'm
good.
saying, Brian, is you have to double Tatum.
Right.
All right. So where does the double come from?
Right. It's the opposite of the Lakers starting line.
Correct.
Where you
don't have to double anybody but LeBron and AD,
right.
and
you can play
leave.
off of 2 people.
Right. And so,
I mean, I got to be honest. Like, when I watch that team, as long as Porzingis is healthy, that is your champion this year, next year, the year after that. I mean, they'll just keep winning.
As much, too, as you talk about, like, their top 5 and to whatever degree you want to include Al Horford in that mix. Like, if nothing else,
no, leadership-wise, super important.
He's smart. He knows
Peyton
what to
Pritchard's like a really good backup point guard. You know,
guys like Hauser and Pritchard, they're good enough to be your 7th guy, your 8th guy. And once you get into the playoffs, you don't roll much deeper than 8 guys anyway. I could see them making a move at the deadline, like a supporting cast, like a guy like John Conchar.
Milwaukee is really quietly starting to figure it out.
Okay, they have to score like 140 points a game to win.
But we're used to them being like, doing it the other way.
Yeah, that's true.
And so like they're not necessarily, I think, once the playoffs roll around, going to be catastrophically bad defensively.
No, but
I just don't. I mean, Boston can do both. Boston can defend and they can score.
All right, here's the
I'm
team.
not done with Milwaukee yet.
Here's the team to keep an eye on: Philly.
Yeah.
Because they have Embiid, Tyrese Maxey is super underrated. Like, Tyrese Maxey is probably going to be an all-star this year, and if there weren't so many great guards in the league. He would be.
He's going to be in the All-NBA conversation.
Well, he is, but Andy, and I know we got to go, but think about this for All-NBA, okay? So I think the first team All-NBA is Luka and SGA, okay? Steph is still having a great Steph kind of year, so you've got to put Steph in there.
I don't think you have to, depending on how the Warriors finish.
I think you have to.
I do. But okay, but
I don't.
Okay, so
and then there's Anthony Edwards.
Put that off to the side. Anthony Edwards has to have one of those 6 spots. I would think Devin Booker has to have one of those 6 spots.
Depends on how many games he plays.
I'm
always a Booker person, but it depends on how many games he plays.
Now stay with me here. So we've now had. So I've given you Dame, or not yet.
Dame.
I didn't even name it. So I've given you Luka, SGA, Edwards,
Steph,
Halliburton.
Yep, Halliburton has to be there.
Donovan Mitchell's putting up otherworldly numbers.
What about
in
De'Aaron
Cleveland.
Fox?
Yep, De'Aaron Fox.
So
Jalen Brunson, we haven't even brought him
Jamal
up.
Murray is playing phenomenally well.
So now we're up to 9 guys before we
okay,
ever mention
so there is a
Tyrese
little trick.
Maxey.
You can move Luka to a forward spot.
I would also, Matt.
Bontemps told me that you can do 5 guards this year if you want.
You can do whatever you want.
Oh, they changed it this year?
So if you want to, you
Oh,
can
that's
put
good.
Jokic and Embiid on the first team together.
That's good.
I would mention Maxey before some of these other guys. That's just me.
Which ones?
Steph and Booker.
No.
Right now.
No.
I would
certainly Steph.
I would put all 3 of them in the same class.
Well, look.
I think that it gets determined.
I'm not
from
saying
here
that they're
on out.
playing badly. I'm saying if I have to pick somebody, I think he's playing just as well as those guys, and his team's winning more.
No.
You have to look at something. To,
I'm just going to keep saying no. I'm going to be like 5 years old. No.
I get that he is. I get that he is
Steph Curry.
It's not a lifetime
Did you see what he did to the Celtics?
I'm just going to say.
I mean,
to me, he is blank.
Look at his numbers, Brian.
No, he's playing really well.
No, but he's
Maxey.
Steph. I mean, he's like okay.
I'm not
no,
trying to take away
By the
from
way,
his-
did we just do all 6 All NBA guards and leave Halliburton completely out?
No,
I think
you
we have
mentioned
to.
him.
Here's
I
the
think we
question.
have to.
Here's something you guys can do, even though you have a long list. We've already established all that stuff you have to talk about. Everybody went through this whole thing and did not talk about the team with 6 losses leading the Western Conference. At what point do people put Minnesota in this group
I said
of teams
Anthony
that can
Edwards.
win? No, Minnesota as a team that can win a title.
They have to
you
win
said
a
they're
few.
the automatic. The Celtics.
Agreed, but they haven't won a
champion.
playoff series,
We talked
so-
about
I
Milwaukee.
think-
We talked about Philly to watch. Nobody's talking about Minnesota.
I think
You should,
if
but-
Minnesota. I think if Minnesota runs into Denver, Denver takes them out.
Could be. I'm asking the question.
You know
I
what's
don't
funny
the
though?
answer.
I feel like Minnesota might be the one team that could take Denver out because they have the size. Like Denver beats people because they have 3 guys who are 6'10" and over,
Porter's
and they're great.
People forget Porter's 6'10".
Yeah, he's 6'10".
At least, yeah, he is.
And Aaron Gordon's 6'10".
All right, he can bounce like
6'9"
he's,
or so.
and if he wants to jump, he's 9 feet tall.
Yeah.
All right, that is it for Super Crosstalk powered by In-N-Out Burger. That's
I'm good. We're good.
I am good. That's what a hamburger's all about. Coming up
He
next.
gets paid to $115 and no more.
Absolutely. Union rules, man. I am not above the local 407 that governs all this.
5-year-old, no.